What's up, everybody, and welcome back to the Terror Table for episode 118. I am one of your regular hosts that you hear every single week. My name is Mitch, and alongside me, as always,
I'm Buzi.
And we usually have a third guest, or a third co-host with us that he showed up for the first 40 episodes, and then he's kind of been sporadic ever since.
He ghosted us.
Yeah, he was planning on being here today, but he is dead. So, no, sorry, Diego. His name is Diego. He will be back in
from
2
the
weeks.
dead.
Yeah, no, he's not actually dead, but we do miss him. He's in Toronto right now, so he actually has a valid reason. Today's his Mima's birthday. Next week, he's going to be in Toronto.
Yeah.
His Mima, that's correct for Diego's mom.
I don't know. I was going to say mushum, but that's completely wrong.
The fuck's a mushum?
You don't have a mushum and a cookum?
Okay, either way, we normally have Diego here, but Diego's not here. He was planning on being here. We would like to welcome our first-time guest, long-time listener, and friend Gabrielle.
Hello.
Gabrielle,
Hi.
we're so excited to have you on. We're going to be talking about Gabrielle's found footage pick of the week. As far as I know, I don't know if you picked this as a found footage movie, but it was just the movie that you picked. And
It worked.
It was sort of both for the found footage, and then your next thing, did you...
We're not doing that just yet.
Yeah,
but,
okay.
but,
No?
Yeah, no.
I don't want to uncover any secrets or anything.
At the
but
time when we conversed about it, that was the plan, but it subject to change.
We're going to be
Well, it
doing
worked
possession
anyway.
movies eventually.
Yeah.
Possession
It
movies.
was supposed to lead into possession.
Yeah.
It was kind of a nice,
It's
half
the-
and half for both.
Yeah,
but
it's the perfect bridge, and then we're not doing that.
It is, and it's funny because Buzi doesn't even know, but I'm going to announce this right now. Next week we're going to do our book club episode. Because it's been 2 months since we've done book club, and it's probably about time we get a third one out there.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Have you finished your book, though?
No, I'm not.
Oh my god, man. I finished my book 2 days after we recorded the last one, so I'm going to have to rethink about it all.
I feel like you guys have probably all read a shit ton, and I haven't even finished the one I was supposed to do.
Well, that's because we're intellectuals.
It's true. So I'm just going to moderate.
Okay. Yeah, no, but next week we will do our book club episode. We'll make a post about our Instagram, our Facebook, and our Twitter. We'll remind everyone which books we've read and which ones we're going to be talking about. Bryson has read all 4 books this time, and he had them done before this. And the guy has still never seen Evil Dead 2, so I think his priorities are a little bit fucked.
Wow, I thought you were going to go after me on that one, but I'm glad that you turned it on him for being such a keener.
No, I'm impressed that Bryson... Maybe we'll get Bryson to replace Buzi in book club from now on. So
is that an American term? Or a Canadian term?
Which?
Keener? Do you think...
it sounds really Canadian.
Yeah, do you think any Americans what's a keener?
What is a keener? I don't even know what that is.
You know, when you're keen, you're ready to go, you're all about it, you're a keener.
Okay. Either way, we are a horror podcast. If this is your first time listening, I can't imagine that this would be where you tune in first. But if for some reason it is, we talk about horror movies. We're going to be talking about everything that we've been up to in the last week. We're going to normally, last couple times we've had guests on, we've been trying to just jump right into just the horror stuff, just talking about what we've been seeing. But Gabrielle, we have actually some questions for you, and I want to we'll grill you.
Okay.
This is an interrogation. You should be nervous. No, but Gabrielle's an artist. You're an artist / Twitch streamer / CEO of the Dark Market, YXE.
Yeah, I suppose
Master
you could say
and
that.
Commander, Master Chief. We're going to talk about all those things, and then we'll get to know about... Because you clearly love horror movies.
I do, yes.
So, that's the thing is, we've had guests on before where it's just I've watched a horror movie before, and they're so it's we're not going to talk to them about all this stuff, but we're going to dig deep in with you. But we'll rapid fire questions. We'll get to know Gabby a little. Can we call you Gabby? Do people call you Gabby?
Yeah, Gabby's totally fine. The reason I normally introduce myself as Gabby actually is because my full name's Gabrielle, but a lot of people like to call me Gabriel.
Oh, okay.
Even if I say it's Gabrielle,
it physically comes out of
Even
your
if-
mouth.
and it comes back as Gabriel,
Yeah.
so I've kind of I go by Gabby most of the time.
Yeah, okay.
But
because
as long as you know my real name, I don't care.
Because Buzi is the one you guys were in contact with each other about coming on, and and he was saying Gabby. We're like, who the fuck is Gabby? Because I've always just known it's Gabrielle. I was like, did Buzi just give her a nickname without even?
No, that's
totally
fine.
That's not even a nickname. I just shortened it.
That seemed that is saying oh, we've been tight for a long time.
No, if I was like, oh, Gab's coming on, then you could
Gabagino.
Gabagino.
Yeah, no. So we'll do all that stuff. We'll talk about what we've been watching and what we've been up to, and then we're going to share some news, and then we will get into our main feature, which is once again the Taking of Deborah Logan. So with all that out of the way, let's get to know Gabby a little bit here. So, couple questions for you. First, how did you hear about the Terror Table?
Kenny.
Kenny Man?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Cool.
Yeah, actually, because I had been listening to a bunch of other like true crime podcasts and other stuff, and then I had just posted.
What true crime ones? We need to hear it. Like,
you love My Favorite Murder.
Yeah, I listen to My Favorite Murder. I listen to Small Town Murder and Crime and Sports, which are two comedians. Last podcast. Yeah, I listen to all that kind of stuff, and then I just kind of wanted something else if anyone had any other ideas, and I was like, hey, this thing's local, you should check it out, and so I did. Yeah,
that's awesome. I hear all of those podcasts through Courtney listening to them in the kitchen. So I'm basically a listener, but I don't subscribe to any of them. But I'm pretty sure I listen to
second-hand listener.
I listen to lots of podcasts at work because, well, not as much now, but I used to be at my desk all the time, which was
did you get in trouble for it?
Oh, no, they don't care.
It's the absolute best thing in the world. For if you're in a position where you can listen to podcasts, that just makes your job infinitely better.
If I could put my headphones in and not talk to anyone at work, that's the dream. That is.
Yeah, I have those some days at work, and like that's the ideal day for me. It's like, I don't have to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was just curious about that because there's always like, since we're a local podcast and you happen to be local, I always wonder how our local listeners have found out about us. So that's cool.
Word of mouth from others.
Sweet, cool.
We really got to start like tagging ourselves in places, like like graffiti.
Yeah. Okay, so we're gonna get fully into like you are an artist.
Yes.
Like, so you mainly do drawings and sketches and stuff like that. Like, do you do any like computer work, or do you do it mainly?
I've kind of tinkered around with a few things. I do know how to use Photoshop. I've designed a couple of logos for people, but I definitely wouldn't call myself like a graphic artist or digital illustrator or anything like that. It's definitely not my go-to. So it's more out of necessity or like when it fits.
Yeah. And one of the coolest things about that, and like why you fit at the table today, is that every single piece that you do is somehow spooky or horror related or dark in some way. So
I try.
So with that being said, though, like where does your love from all this come from? Was it horror movies first? Like when did you get into drawing? Was it a horror movie that got you into it, or was it the two things kind of just married each other?
You just asked like 3 questions.
I'm sorry. I'm really excited.
Let's go like. How did you become who you are now? And then we can talk about how the art came in.
How about first horror movie you ever saw?
Oh my gosh.
Is that good?
Yeah, because I was going to say, like, she probably watched horror movies before she was really good at drawing. So we got to go in chronological order.
It kind of goes in a really weird pattern. I wouldn't necessarily say that, like, one influenced the other. I think they were kind of parallel, separate things for a little bit. But I definitely didn't get into watching movies till I was quite a bit older. So, like, you guys always have stories of watching things as kids, and I definitely didn't get into watching movies until I was...
Was that like your preference, or was that like your parents?
I'd say partly my parents. So we were definitely always watching age-appropriate television, which is totally fine. And like my mom runs a daycare, so it was like there was everything was always
they
good.
Were watching Candyman or Sallow.
Not quite. I always say like I feel like I was a kid for a lot longer than a lot of the other people my age. Like I just was doing age-appropriate stuff. So
you're definitely like affected by your environment that way.
Yeah. So I definitely wasn't watching like.
Yeah. So were you always drawing and doing stuff like that at a young age?
I was always doing creative stuff. Like I always liked. Like I played music. I played musical first. I played piano growing up, and then kind of got into doing guitar and some stuff like that. So.
Are those things you still do now? Because I haven't seen you post about any of that stuff, so
I haven't, because between working full time and then trying to grow this art thing, I just have no other time.
And
on
like
my own.
You don't have to say art thing; like it is a business. That is
this art.
We need to we need to plug this as much as possible, because like no word of a lie, for some reason I think most people who listen to us follow you now or like have heard about your stuff, but you need to follow Gabrielle on Instagram, which is Gabrielle Rose from the Dead.
Yes.
ROSE. Rose, a very clever name.
My sister came up with that so awesome. I can't take credit for it.
Oh, that's awesome. But like, you got to go and check out Gabby's work.
Are you on Facebook too with that?
It's actually under the Dark Arts of Gabrielle Rose.
Okay.
Because when I first started,
Facebook,
when I first started trying to promote my work, that was kind of how I was operating, but then I just kind of switched over to my username because I liked it more.
Okay.
Yeah. No, and your work is awesome.
Thank you.
I found out about you when you started listening to the show, and I was just like, holy fuck, I love everything she does. And then you participate in the Fringe every single year. Are you going to be doing that again this year?
I am.
My sister's the manager now.
Oh, really?
Manager of the Fringe, yeah.
So you better watch what the fuck you're doing.
No, but she
I was going to say, maybe you'll get some perks, but here you come in like you better be paying attention.
Have you met
she loves your stuff too. She's the one who's on book club all the time. Tara, she's been
Yeah.
on before, but she loves your stuff, and she got so jealous of. Actually, funny story. I'm sorry to hog your airtime, but I'm going to share this story. The first pieces that I bought from Gabby were it was a 4-piece Beetlejuice set. So it has Lydia, cannot believe I'm drawing a blank because it's one of my favorite movies of all time. Beetlejuice, and then
I couldn't tell you their names either, and yet I love Beetlejuice.
Okay, yeah, okay. So
the Beetlejuice gang.
Barbara?
Yeah, Barbara and the fucking...
and the guy and her husband.
Either way, it's 4 separate pieces, and they're beautiful. And I was like, hey, can you hold these for me? Because I'm going to come pick them up today. Or I picked them up a couple days later or something like that. Finally got around to getting them. They're hanging in our living room. And I remember you sent me a message, I think 2 days later, and you're like, I just want to make sure that you're actually going to keep those and you're not planning on flipping them on Kijiji or something because I will kill you or something.
Actually, I totally forgot about that, but it's... that sounds really out of context. I had a dream about it.
Oh, yeah, that's what it was. You had a dream.
So I woke up one morning having had a dream that Mitch posted on Instagram that he has having a yard sale. And so in my dream, I went to the yard sale and my drawings were there, and I was really pissed off.
And I was having a yard sale that week.
Which I think is why I dreamt it, because I did see you post something. So I dreamt it, that he was getting rid of my stuff. So I'm like, okay, but... I just made those. I know, and that's what I loved your stuff even more, just knowing how much you cared about this and that, because they were these aren't duplicates of any kind. No, those are originals.
So I love that you care about that, and just the idea that I was going to turn around and flip them at a yard sale.
Because I have several of your pieces too, and you've never messaged me that. So, I mean, Mitch just must be a real shady bitch.
You haven't haunted my dreams yet. We'll see.
She doesn't like the cut of my jib, but she trusts you. No, but that's a fucking hilarious story. I had to tell that.
I forgot about that.
Yeah, and it's funny. I just remember that today because I was just thinking about what we're going to talk about and everything. And that came to mind. I burst out laughing. So I was like, that was one of the funniest things. But yeah, now and then I got you to do a Hocus Pocus commission for Courtney's birthday, and it's in our kitchen, and it's fucking amazing. Everyone
that
who
was
comes
a tough one.
I believe it. And you killed it.
Yeah.
It's so nice. Yeah, it's
I'm
so
pretty
nice.
sure every guest we've had here has been looking at that one and wow.
Every time we've ever had someone in the house, because that's the thing is, it's the first thing you see if you walk through those doors, and they always mention it. They're like, oh my god, where'd you get this? Is where can I get one? They thought it was a print. I'm like, nah. This is a ridge.
Only one. Yeah. I don't even have a scan of it. I don't even have a digital copy if I wanted to. So
that's awesome. Okay, so going back to the question that this all started on, horror movies. Let's talk about horror movies. Where did your love of horror movies stem from?
Well,
where did it all begin?
I was honestly scared of everything as a kid. I wouldn't say I wasn't just a scared child in general, but I wouldn't go for scary things. So when I would go to the library, my friends actually had to be you're too old to be getting books from the children's section. There's a youth section. And I'm like, but there's Goosebumps books there, and the covers are terrifying. So I wouldn't go near any of that stuff.
You guys are reading that filth?
Yeah. So it wasn't that I was opposed to it. It's just it visually freaked me out. So it's just so funny looking back to how I turned out now, where I'm this isn't scary enough.
You literally do that daily. Yeah.
So I was very scared of everything. But my mom and dad, I think both of them probably would watch a lot of horror movies and ghost detective kind of shows, and that terrified me.
So they were really into horror movies?
I wouldn't say not this into horror or anything, but they definitely did watch things, because I know they'd be okay, you're going to bed, don't come out, we're watching a scary movie. Or if I would come out of the room and there was night vision on the TV, oh god, I would go back to bed myself. I didn't even need them anymore. I'm actually, I'm fine, I can go back to bed. So I don't really know where it came from. Overly, I eventually grew into it.
Yeah,
I guess.
I think that's a way that a lot of us are too. Is that because the thing is, they used to terrify the shit out of me, and some still they can manage to scare me. But it's all about defeating that fear. That's what makes it so addicting. So
I did write down some jot notes because I knew I would get here and just totally blank out.
Yeah, well,
so
feel free.
Yeah, just in terms of the kind of stuff that got me into it. So I made notes that I was terrified of Are You Afraid of the Dark and Tales from the Crypt and Goosebumps. Scared
That's
the
good
crap out of
reason.
me. Like,
Yeah.
I remember falling asleep on the couch when I was sick, and it'd be like, oh, it's nighttime, and Are You Afraid of the Dark is starting. Like, I could not find the remote fast enough to shut it off.
Are You Afraid of the Dark was so much scarier than all the other ones. I
Are
don't
you
know what it
kidding?
was.
I know that you're right, but I used to run away when the Goosebumps theme started
See,
playing.
and I thought the theme for Are You Afraid of the Dark was way scarier, because for some reason I always associated the Goosebumps theme with the guy in it. The guy carrying the briefcase reminded me of Weird Al Yankovic, so I was less
So
scared.
you just defeated him?
Yeah, I was just like, yeah, nah, your power's gone.
Yeah, nah.
But yeah, Are You Afraid of the Dark is terrifying.
I've still never watched those. Like, I could
Yeah.
honestly say. Actually, I watched a couple episodes of Goosebumps because it was like on
Yeah.
Okay,
Netflix or
so
something.
what age are we talking about when this was
Oh
all
gosh,
happening?
all throughout
24.
elementary school. Like,
Okay.
I'd say
24.
by the time I only really started getting into anything weird, probably when I hit grade 7. And if I'm going to say why I leaned into it was because that's when I got into MCR and everyone decided that I was the scary emo kid. And so I was like, okay, I'll take that.
Wait,
and
so
then
they
I just
forced
kind
that
of
on you?
Kind of.
It comes with the territory, and if you think I don't have something written up about MCR in here, you're wrong. It's like,
Their lyrics are tattooed
Which
on
ones
my
you
arm.
have?
From the Earth to the Morgue. It's
Oh
from
my
a
God.
B-side. It's not
Yes.
even on an album.
I
so
fucking-
This is a true fan we're dealing with.
And that's the thing too, is I take a lot of flack for it because like people seem to think that because a lot of kids were into MCR, but
Oh,
they
yeah.
really are incredible musicians, and like I do think that the Black Parade is one of the greatest, like one of the most underrated rock albums of all time. Like I think they transcended who they were with that album. It is so
definitely.
good. But like yeah, I was the same way where I was into all that like sad, depressing shit. But I guess I was also the kid who always like had the horror movies. But I love them both. But
See,
that's
so
cool.
I got into that music first.
Yeah.
Which I think is what kind of made me get interested into just the whole alternative scene of anything in general, because I felt like I definitely didn't ever fit in with the normal kids, and then all of a sudden when they're like, oh, you're the weird one, I'm like, oh, maybe I am the weird one, and then I realized there's this whole like separate world of like the weird things for
Yeah.
the weird ones, and I'm like,
I think
that's my area.
Yeah, I think it's fine with most guests is you kind of get pipigeonholed into something and then you just run with it.
Yeah, I was like, oh, okay, well,
Okay.
maybe I wasn't supposed to be
Do
over
you
there.
remember how you found MCR? Did you like find a music video like on MTV?
I
or-
do actually remember. So I know it was during like the Black Parade era because
Okay.
it came out in 2006, which is
Yeah.
when I was in grade 6, and I got my first MP3 player when I was in grade 6. And before that point, I didn't even know there wasn't music that was on the radio. Or didn't know there was music that wasn't on the
Yeah.
radio. If that made sense,
Yeah.
would have made more sense
Your
if
world
I said
just
it
like
right.
exploded.
But
That's
I was like, oh, I didn't know there was this stuff. So at that point, the Black Parade was on the radio. But it hadn't caught my attention or anything. But then I remember being at a track meet, and there was one girl in my class who I always liked the music that she had, and she had left her MP3 player sitting there, and so I was like, I'm just gonna see what she has. So I turned it on, and
Was
it
it
played.
Dead?
No, it was Famous Last Words.
Oh, okay, I banger as
And
well.
then that got stuck in my head for months, and then I just was like, ooh, what are all these songs? And then I just went
like-
down every single song they ever did.
It's like the one instance too where when you see them, if you're into this kind of stuff, when you see their videos and everything, it adds so much to it. Like I bought 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge. First of all, Slipknot was the same deal for me. Like I didn't know there was other music out there when I found out Slipknot had opened up my gates. But where is it getting it? I bought 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge and Rise Against Siren Song of the Counterculture on the same day. And I was just like, holy fuck, these are 2 of the best albums I've ever heard. And they're completely different, but they're both angry and they're pissing my sister off. Because it was
What more
not
could you
Tara,
want?
but yeah, I went and it was so funny because it was my other sister and she's like, oh, this screaming shit. And I was like, these aren't even screaming. I was like, this is just straight punk. And then this is like thematic emo. Like,
Yeah.
and even, yeah, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I'm
It's
sure at
mostly
that
just
age-
like an alternative rock, even. Like, it's not
Yeah.
that out there in the grand
But-
scheme of things.
Yeah, I remember I got made fun of for liking MCR, but I was just like, hey, like I think it's cool what they do. Like that's like the one instance I like that they have like a theatrical side to everything, and like that's why I loved bands like even like Chiodos did stuff like
I
that.
love Chiodos,
and
too.
I know you're big into Dance Gavin Dance, and they're now
yeah.
the band who's carrying that on right now. They're doing that, but like where was that? Oh yeah, I basically pretended like I didn't like My Chemical Romance anymore because it was not cool. It wasn't in anymore. And then my friend got free tickets to go see them on the Black Parade tour, and I hadn't even given that album a listen because I was just like, I'm above MCR. Fuck MCR. But like one of my favorite bands was opening, so I went. And then
Well, band was
Who
it?
was opening?
The Bled. They were one of the bands that got me into screamo, but I love
that was
the
like
Blood.
early like southern rock.
Oh
kinda,
like they I love them. But so I was just like, yes, I will go for free to see the Blood, and then I will tolerate My Chemical Romance. And then they put on till this day, one of the best shows I've ever seen in my life. Like they started off with 3 Cheers for Sweet Revenge, like. Gerard came out on a gurney, and it was like
with the face paint, and he's got the white.
Yeah, and on there was like the backdrop.
I've got that DVD.
Yeah, the backdrop had Revenge on the back, and then it like instantly switched. Like they played a couple songs off that, then it switched to the Black Parade. Then they had dancers, and then they were like there was confetti, and I'm getting chills thinking about it. I was like, I was in grade 11, and I was just like, fuck, I think I'm the world's biggest MCR fan now.
You know what I was doing when that tour came to Saskatoon?
Oh no, working.
No, I was still only in grade 7,
Yeah, I was gonna say,
I had a
way younger than us.
teammate on my soccer team who was telling me all about it. And that was like a couple months into me getting obsessed with it, and I'm like, I hate you so much.
That must have pissed you off that I had zero interest in going.
Every person I know who has told me they've seen them always say they had no interest in actually going to that show, and I'm like,
and they really,
I can't even quantify how I feel right now.
Exactly. And I think a lot of people write them off as like the teenage girl emo shit, and it's like, you know what, they can, I don't know, I know some of the greatest comic book writers of all time are like listening to the Black Parade while they're creating stuff. It's just such an amazing album. But sorry, I'll stop talking about.
I'm so jealous that you guys have that to like bond over, because like me getting into like heavier music is like when I found The Curse.
Oh, and I started
like as soon as track 1 was done, where it was just kind of that like
Bleeding Mascara.
Yeah, as soon as Bleeding Mascara hit, I was like, this is completely different from everything else, and I have to be this person now.
I know. And they're just they're so angry.
Yeah, that was before I even had an MP3 player. I had my Discman.
Yeah. Oh, Anti-Shock at least, though.
Yeah, Anti-Shock, and you had your satchel of CDs that you carried with you.
Yeah. Which
sucked in the winter if you're like, I don't want to listen to this album anymore, it's cold as fuck, you're trying to switch out the CD.
My car's still full of a CD book that's just completely full of albums from 2000 to 2006 exclusively.
That's the only era that matters.
I tell everyone, I'm like, yeah, I'm 24, but I'm actually only 14, and I always will be 14.
I know.
So
it's funny.
Deal with it.
Yeah.
My parents talked me out of getting like a Taking Back Sunday tattoo when I was like really young. And I was just like, yeah, like they have a point, like I'm probably going to outgrow them. And I'm like, I'm 29 and I fucking still listen to Taking Back Sunday every single day. But, all right, cool. Well, let's go on to some more horror stuff though. So you run the Dark Market. Can you tell us a little bit tell our listeners about the Dark Market
and how it came about?
Yeah.
Sure. Well, obviously, like we've been talking about, I do my own artwork, so I try to go to events and markets to sell it. Otherwise, it just sits in boxes in my house, and I don't want to be a hoarder.
Do you mind if I interject? With you going to like things before that,
Yep.
Did you have a harder time finding an audience for it? Because I'm assuming you probably stuck out like a sore thumb with a lot of those.
Oh yeah. The first thing I ever did was Fringe, which was like straight up, I'm doing a 10-day art market, and I've never sold anything anywhere before. So I did a lot better than I thought I was going to do, but I was definitely a different
as far as the Fringe goes, you're definitely on the opposite side of what most of those things are. People are selling.
There's a lot of cool stuff. Yeah, there's cool stuff.
I'm not saying there's
have
cool
like
stuff.
beads and like street like graffiti skateboards and stuff like that.
Yeah, and hemp bags and shit.
Yeah, but I think there's a lot more, and I mean this in the best way, but there's a lot more weirdos in Saskatoon than we know. And I say weirdo as in I am a weirdo, but there's a lot more of us than we think.
We are the freaks, mister.
Yeah, exactly.
The amount of like women in their 60s and early 70s coming to buy things for their grandchildren.
Oh, I was gonna say.
Yeah,
hopefully, I thought you were gonna say the amount of like 60s women who like worship Satan. That'd be sweet.
No, then there also are like the older biker type people that like all the skulls and stuff. Yeah. So they're definitely like, I think it does hit a bigger variety of people than I would have anticipated.
So they have like, you'd have like skulls for like specific things, and these guys would come up and they wouldn't know what it's actually for. It's like, fuck yeah, skull.
Pretty much.
Well, that's the thing. For a long time, skulls were cheesy and lame. Like but Gabrielle's art with her skulls, but the way that you do your skulls and the way that I know, like, there's other people. Like for now, I got 2 skulls in my living room. Like I fucking love skulls now because there's different kinds out there now, and like I love that you do like weird creature skulls. Like you're like
the animals.
Yeah. And you did one that kind of looks similar to Sam from Trick or Treat.
That's a fetal skull.
a fetal skull.
Yeah.
Okay, weird.
Baby skulls.
Yeah.
So that's what they look like when
Babies?
they
So
don't
did-
have skin on
So
them.
did you have
Yeah,
to like
babies are
Google
fun.
that to get a reference?
Yeah, I do.
Yeah.
I definitely get references when I'm doing
Like
the
a
skulls.
Chernobyl baby?
I wonder if I could find skulls of that. Yeah, I definitely Google, but I try not to copy them exactly. So
Yeah.
I'll be like,
No,
you know,
just
it's
have a
more
ref-
so like for scale or for like how the shadows are going to
Yeah.
be.
Well, I don't think anyone's expecting you to, like, you know, draw a fetal skull right now from memory.
I've done a few. They're probably going to get better if you said, like, draw it right now. It probably wouldn't be as bad as it would have been previously.
I remember
Okay.
the first piece that you did that caught my attention besides the Beetlejuice ones where you had like it's three skulls, like what they're facing different ways.
Yep.
And it's just so simple, but it's just like you do lots of dot work.
Yeah.
Have you ever thought about getting into tattooing?
I get asked that all the
Yeah, I'm
time.
assuming that's something
Yeah,
you get asked.
it's
every
either
day.
people come up to my tables and they're like, "Oh, these would make great tattoos," or "Do you tattoo?" or "Do you design
And
tattoos?"
black work is huge right now. It's all I want, and like
Yeah,
that's what
what I've got
yeah,
on mine
oh
as
man,
well.
that's a Matt Murray too. You gotta
Ryan
or
Murray.
Ryan Murray.
Yeah.
Those guys are amazing.
They are amazing.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'm definitely like that's why all my work's the black work as well. So
But
So-
no getting into tattooing.
maybe if the opportunity presented itself at this time, I definitely don't think that I don't think I'm good enough to want to put it on anyone permanently at this point. Like I don't.
You gotta stop being
I would
silly.
be.
You have no
I'd
idea
be
what
so
kind
scared.
of shit people get tattooed on their bodies these days.
That
Like,
is true.
And like that, I actually know a few artists who started off doing the kind of stuff that you're doing, and then they are now doing full-time tattoos. And let's just say I have full faith that you would surpass them.
Oh, thank you.
But that's something that you should definitely think about because you'd be an amazing tattoo
Yeah.
artist.
Maybe one day.
Yeah. Cool. Well, let's talk about what about like horror movies? Or sorry, we were talking about the dark market.
I don't think
I'm
we
just-
finised a single
No,
train of thought.
It's
but
okay. We're just so
We're
excited for you to be here.
Yeah. Dark market.
Dark market?
What is the dark market?
Okay.
We were talking about the Fringe. I'm
Yeah.
sorry.
No, okay, I can take it back to there. So I was doing things like the Fringe. Then I opened up an Etsy shop, so then I was able to apply to be in the Etsy markets, which were very hit and miss for me. I'd had days where like I just couldn't get over how many people came and bought my things, and then I'd have days where I wouldn't make a single sale the entire time, which is really frustrating when you're like hauling everything out of your house and setting up. So
And
I'm like, hey,
making
there
small
has to
talk
be
with a bunch of people.
Exactly. And like Saskatchewan people who all just kind of want to go buy watercolor flowers and like nothing wrong if you want that, but that is not at my table. And so I knew that there was definitely a market for the kind of stuff, knowing like by that point I had connected with you guys and been listening to your podcast, so I knew there was a lot of like people in the area that were interested in that kind of thing, and just tons of other locals who were following me on Instagram and all of that. So I was like, well, we just need a place for this kind of stuff to come together. And so it was one Etsy sale that I was at with my boyfriend. He always comes along and sits there and is not having fun. But he sits there and supports me through it.
Do you tell him to do that? Like,
No.
Like when he comes, you're like, you sit here and you don't have fun.
Is he like that guy who has a shitty band and makes his girlfriend work merch? Like that, maybe that.
I never tell him he has to stay there.
Okay.
He just always
Not saying that
does.
you're
Unhappily,
Not saying you're the shitty band. You're a lot better
Maybe.
than a metalcore band.
I'd love to be a metalcore
Yeah,
band.
but
Don't diss that.
there's a lot of bad.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah,
Saskatchewan
for
bands.
sure.
I'm the only one who was in a metalcore band.
But yeah, so we're sitting there and we're like, you know, we really need something in Saskatoon that's just like only for the alternative stuff, and no one's allowed to sell their Tupperware and their like
Their
crochet
bead jewelry.
things. Like there's enough markets for that. So then he's like, well, make one. Like I'll help you if you make one. And so then I just started looking into it. I booked a place, and then I was like, okay, well, I guess we're doing this then. So that was essentially it. It was just kind of like I found a place to host it. I booked it, and I'm like, now I can't back out because I
Yeah.
don't get that deposit back.
So did you book it before you had like other people that were interested?
No,
okay. So you did do the groundwork.
I did
first.
reach out to a couple artists where I was like, theoretically, if
Yeah.
this was a thing we could do in the city, would you be interested? And then I got a few yeses, and then I was like, okay. Then I booked it. But I didn't have anyone like set in stone that they're all going to be here, they're going to help.
So you got to like remind them of those messages. Hey, remember when you said you wanted to do that? Well,
Yeah, I'm like, hey, I booked a venue. You still want to do this thing?
And that's a ballsy decision to do that in Saskatoon, because like it is something that you don't really know just going out to our normal stores. You wouldn't guess that we'd have that kind of people in the city, or enough to like, you know, justify having a market like that. But I know all three of us went to it, and it was.
I didn't go.
Oh, you didn't go?
No,
You were, because we went and saw you at the haunted house right afterwards.
Yeah, I was working that night. I was like, I knew I had a good reason that wasn't a shitty reason I wasn't there.
At least
you were scaring people, so it's acceptable.
He was dressed up in full body Michael Myers attire, so he had an excuse. But me, Diego, and Courtney went, and it was fucking packed.
It was crazy, and the woman who ran the business was there the whole time. She was just lurking around because I knew we maxed capacity a couple of times.
Oh yeah,
and she's
packed.
Like, "So are you guys counting?" I'm like, "No," because I didn't think it would fill up. But
yeah, like
I guess we will keep an eye on it now.
Yeah, like I was genuinely surprised, but I was so happy to see it. Obviously, but I was like, man, like. And also, I was more surprised at the vendors than the amount of people who showed up. Because like people in Saskatchewan we're fiending for art. We're fiending for that kind of experience that you just can't. We don't get all the time here. So it was really interesting. Like, and you saw like it went viral around the city. Like everyone was talking about it.
Oh yeah.
I work with plumbers, and they were talking like, "You go to this dark market?" I'm like, "How the fuck do you know about this?" Like guys who
I'd keep clicking on the Facebook event, and this was like a month or two before it was happening. And it's like it's been seen by 30,000 Facebook accounts, and I'm like, I'm from Prince Albert, and that's almost bigger than that city. So it's like everyone there has seen that this event's happening. I'm like, I don't have room for 30,000 people, but. If a few thousand of you could trickle through during the night.
No, but like I was saying, like I was more surprised by how many amazing vendors we have here. Like there was some super cool stuff there.
Yeah, I had to be very picky. Like I kind of operated it a little bit unconventionally. Most people do kind of like a call for artists, let everyone apply. But I was like, I'm going to have to turn down so many people because I have a clear vision of what I wanted to make. So I was also really inspired by some events I see happen in Massachusetts. So like we had briefly mentioned Ryan Murray and Matthew Murray from Black Veil Tattoo. And they... is through their accounts I actually saw that they had an event in Massachusetts with a bunch of artists. And I was like, man, that's the kind of market that I need to be at. So it was kind of... in thinking about that I was like, I'm going to curate this kind of event and make sure we don't have too much overlap of types of vendors and have as much variety while still having everything like be right on theme. So yeah, I think it came together pretty good for a first try.
Since I wasn't there, how many vendors did you end up having?
I think we had 12.
12?
Yeah.
12, and they were all handpicked by you.
They were all handpicked and invited.
It was very well
personally
organized.
Invited.
It was very well organized because it seemed like way more than 12. Like it was just, I guess, the variety in that place. Like it seemed like there's way more than 12 vendors there.
Yeah, I definitely had a lot of as like I said, it's not necessarily like I wouldn't care if someone did crochet as long as the crochet fits the theme somehow. So it was just really about trying to get as much variety into that space as we could.
So. Can you talk about this year's? Have you started planning for it and getting...
the venue's booked and the date's set.
Venue's booked?
So
okay. Are you going to have more than 12 vendors
We will be having more than 12 vendors.
Is it at Village again?
No.
Where's
it's going to be at Capitol.
Oh,
Music
nice.
Club.
That's awesome.
You're upgrading everywhere.
And it's on a Saturday.
Oh, my God. That's going to be...
Which means we're going to be able to open earlier. No times and anything are set, but I'm kind of tinkering around with the idea of doing some kind of like VIP early entrance for those who want to come in early, who want like different... perks maybe. We'll see. It's still in the planning phase.
That'll be awesome. Capitol will be a sweet place for it.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
So
if you need anyone, like me and Mitch can probably get rid of Riff Raff because I'm assuming you're going to have a lot of people just wander in.
Yeah.
That's
the
area.
Bouncers.
That's the area it's in.
Well, I think Capitol has their own bouncers, which is good. I know that personally.
I don't know if they will for event because this is like it's kind of weird because booking there it's like when you book it's a private event but this actually isn't a private event so
it's not like a show or anything. They usually have bouncers for shows but crazy. That's awesome. So when's that happening this year?
It's October 12th.
October 12th. That's awesome.
Okay,
sweet.
Saturday.
That's awesome.
So follow that where?
Dark Market YXE on both Facebook and Instagram, I believe.
Perfect.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. All right. Well, feel like we know you a little bit better now. Do you want?
We're not done yet.
Okay.
I have one more.
Okay.
Because we talked about you getting into horror, but we didn't what's your favorites? What's the stuff that makes you you?
Do you want me to finish talking about my notes that I have? Because that might give you a better insight. Because like I said, I was so scared of everything as a kid that I didn't really get into it till I like entered high school probably. So the things that I did like and that I was really into was things like, and I know my mom's going to listen, she'll get mad if I don't mention it. So
Oh, so we
watching
shouldn't
Scooby-Doo.
Scooby-Doo.
Oh, no, she doesn't care. She already listens to you guys.
What?
Does she really?
Yeah.
I am so sorry.
Oh my god.
Like, I don't think she listens to you as regularly as she
Yeah.
listens to My Favorite Murder, but
Yeah.
I know she
No.
listens.
Okay.
Yeah, so watching lots of, like, Scooby-Doo as a kid was the one thing that obviously wasn't scary enough to scare me because it was a
fun.
cartoon.
You're talking about like classic cartoon, not like the
classic,
live action.
like the original
Okay.
ones. And then the newer one that came out after that, I did watch as well.
I like the live action ones.
Oh, I love the live action
Yeah,
ones as
I
a
like
kid,
them,
for
yeah.
sure. But
Still.
the two that stick out in my mind were Zombie Island, the
Yes.
movie, because the zombies were terrifying and they were real and they weren't people, old grumpy men in costumes. And then there was like werewolf cat people or
Yeah.
something. I don't know, but
fucking Zombie Island.
have you seen that? Your expression saying that you haven't.
No, I haven't.
Man, Zombie,
Well,
I think
you
Zombie
should
Island,
probably watch it then.
I think Zombie Island. I think that was my first exposure to zombies.
like,
Was Scooby-Doo Zombie
I don't know
Island.
how I missed all that because I watched all the original
were the
Scooby
movies.
Doo's.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, no, I just watched
Yeah.
the TV show, like all that, and then it was gone.
So while you guys were getting like 80s horror on VHS when you went to the movie store, we
Yeah.
were picking out the Scooby-Doo movies.
Ah.
So there's what I was doing back
Those are
then.
debatably more like you're bound to get a good Scooby-Doo movie.
Yeah, I was gonna say bang
Watched
for
a
your
lot of
buck.
sh-
You probably
watched
got a
lot of
better.
shit.
I'm going to throw in one honorable mention for Scooby-Doo, which is Cyber Chase.
I've never seen Cyber Chase, but okay.
Oh, I love that one. But not a scary one. And then, okay, the real one that I think explains like my entire identity today is Scooby-Doo and the Witch's Ghost.
Okay. Yeah.
Because I, in hindsight, realized I just grew up to be Thorn.
Yeah.
Because you don't know that either?
No, I wish I could be on your level.
I
right
think
now.
I've seen that one, but that's not as like vivid in my memory.
So
as Zombie
basically,
Island.
it's just a concept that they go to this town and there's a ghost of a witch haunting a town, and it's someone in a costume. But then it turns out there's actually a guy who's trying to raise his ancestor spirit, who's an actual witch, and then it's scary and not someone in a costume.
Did a double turn on that one.
But also in it, there's this all-girl rock band called the Hex Girls, and their lead singer like wears all black, and she's
So are
her
they
name's
like
Thorn, and she like does witchcraft, and she's like, I'm an eco goth, and I'm like, that's me.
so they're like
100%.
goth what were they called? Josie and the Pussycats.
Yeah, but cool.
Okay. Hey, who says Josie is okay, go on.
So that's, I don't know, I guess that's the kind of stuff that I was into that didn't scare the crap out of me as a child. And then things like Harry Potter and all of that.
Yes.
And then when I finally graduated into the youth reading section that had the Goosebumps books, was really into anything with like witches and supernatural stuff and all of that kind of thing. But then to actually transition into the horror, what I probably started before horror movies was like sci-fi apocalyptic kind of movies,
Okay.
which I think were kind of the middle ground that our parents would let us watch. So
Like,
like
what are we talking here?
like
The Stand?
no, but that was the first Stephen King book I ever read.
Oh, really?
And it was like the extended one that was like
Yeah.
1,178 pages or something.
Nerd.
We bring around here to the harasser.
Sorry. Look,
no, but things-
apocalyptic stuff. Yeah.
Yeah, like just the kind of stuff like War of the Worlds and Cloverfield and The
Hell yeah.
Happening, which I love, and I don't care if anyone else
I love that
doesn't like
movie,
it.
but for all of the wrong reasons.
I've seen that movie more times than I care to admit.
Oh man,
I
it
just
is
love
so-
when the guy lays down in front of the lawnmower. That's
oh my
my
god,
favorite
there's
thing.
so many banger scenes in that movie. Like, I love it.
I keep forgetting that you're a lot younger than us. So like we all went as just teens to watch Cloverfield, and you were still growing up.
These
Cloverfield
were
is
movies
huge.
like, oh, my parents watched it last night and they approved it in the morning for us to watch, even
Okay.
though I secretly watched it through. I remember them watching Cloverfield at my family cabin, and we peeked through a window, and I watched the whole thing through the window, like by moving a blanket out of the way. And then the next day, they're like, "Oh, you could watch it." I'm like, "Oh, are you sure? Is it good?" And like, I've actually watched the whole thing.
I love stories like that when kids just like trying to
Especially-
get stuff.
Especially Cloverfield, a movie that even people who went to it didn't get to see all of it because it's all shaky cam. And you were like, you had that extra veil there.
Like, I don't know what year that came out, but I was probably
2007.
Was it? Or
Yeah.
Somewhere around there.
see.
It
So
was
that
when I
would
was
be like
graduating.
right on par for me then. So
Yeah.
that's when I was 12. So then
Yeah, like I was
everything.
in grade 10.
that was like an event, like The Dark Knight when that came out. I think it was the same year, 2007, 2008. Either way.
So yeah, then after, I guess I was into that stuff, wouldn't have ever classified it as horror at that time, and I probably didn't even really think about that till I was listening to you guys, and you cover that kind of stuff.
I think both of those movies we've done episodes on.
Yeah.
I love War of the Worlds with Tom Cruise.
And then I remember watching Blair Witch Project. Was probably one of the first horror movies I did see.
Did you choose that? Like, you're gonna watch that?
No.
No?
I walked into the living room, all the lights were off, and my dad said, come watch this movie.
Boom,
and
roasted.
so I did.
You like tagged, you're in, kid.
And I feel like that was probably still one of the scariest viewing experiences.
Did you lose sleep
I
after?
I don't think I lost sleep, but it was definitely in my head for a while because I was kind of blown away by how, like, first of all, my parents did preface it by saying they marketed this movie as something that was real. So I knew that going into it, but I would think I was just blown away by how little happens in it and how terrified I still felt the entire time.
Yeah.
And just that last scene of the guy in the corner freaked me out because it was just like, it's just so subtle and it unnerved me in such a way that
it's one of those scenes that just will always stick with you if it worked.
Because when it clicked, when you understood why he was standing there, and then I was like, oh.
And they like tell
that's your old moment.
Yeah. So, yeah, after that, I think that's probably when I actually did start getting into it. And then I say I generally started watching horror movies once I hit like grade 9-ish. Watching things like The Ring, The Grudge, The Hills Have Eyes, Mirrors, Dead Silence are some of the earliest ones I have listed.
How did you do with The Hills Have Eyes? Like,
ooh, that's a rough.
I triple featured that with The Grudge and Mirrors, and that was the most horror movies I ever watched back to back, and I had really weird dreams the whole night.
For sure, that had to have been the scariest one for you. Or did
Mirrors
scare you?
Mirrors was worse.
I've only seen Mirrors once, and I was like, I just had my wisdom teeth pulled, so I was like super
The whole
high.
jaw scene?
Yeah, I need to watch it again.
Oh.
I just know Kiefer. Yeah, I was like.
Have you seen Mirrors?
That was one of those movies where I have this period where I was between like ages 10 and probably 14 where I'd have like sleepovers and stuff, and there was always like we'd all like what the white noise and shit like that.
Yeah.
We just rent whatever's at the corner store, so I know Mirrors is in there. I just have
Mirrors
zero
was actually later because I got Mirrors when I was when I got my wisdom teeth was when I was 18 years old. So that's when Mirrors came out. It was a new release. It was the same year as Cloverfield because I came at the tail end of like the J horror thing.
Okay.
Sorry, just make sure you get your facts right. No, yeah, I want to.
I always watch everything late, so I don't know when it came out.
Okay, I was gonna ask. So, like, we both had that experience, like growing up, is going to like sleepovers, and that's what you'd watch, just a bunch of horror movies. Did you have those same experiences?
No, not until I was in grade 9, and then that's when I was watching all of this kind of stuff with friends. So before that, we weren't really, if we were watching anything, it was either like family friendly or some comedy or something like that.
Yeah, I always felt like I was that weird kid. It was like, if we're picking, it's 3 for $5 tonight, and it's like, I'm picking the horror movie.
Yeah, I know, like that started really late for me, and by the time we were into it, it was kind of right when video stores were just phasing out. So I got a couple days of that in there, but not a lot at all.
My condolences, because those are the great.
I know,
those were good times.
Although I do remember at video stores, I would purposely walk down the aisle just to see if I could actually look at all the covers and not get too scared. So
do you have a certain cover
remember
that sticks out?
Oh my gosh.
Just the first one that comes to mind.
It's fucking monkey shins.
I was gonna say I seem to remember some DVD release of the original It that was available, and then I think of that stupid cover changing snowman.
Jack Frost.
That's what comes to my head first. But
awesome.
I do remember just going down the aisles and looking at everything. And so when I was old enough and finally not scared enough to go in there,
That's awesome. Cool. Well, what about like recently? What are the things that get you most excited?
Or like, what's your favorites? Just give us a couple things.
Now that we've unpacked my whole childhood.
Let's get to the trauma.
Well, I would say at one point, like earlier on, my favorite thing was definitely just all the possession horror. But I think that's because that was what was popular at the time. And there was tons of that just in theaters and everything.
That was like the Emily Rose era kind of.
That was before even.
Before?
I don't even know. Like,
Taking
I couldn't
you to
even.
school today, Buzi. Possessions, like, are you talking like Conjuring stuff? Like Insidious? Paranormal Activity?
Like before that kind of stuff. I don't know. I'm just thinking of basically any of like the Christian priests doing exorcism, like that kind of stuff. Because I was definitely one of those kids that was like, if it doesn't make me scared in theaters, it's not a horror movie, and I'm not anymore. But so I was definitely into those because those freaked me out. But now I'd say I more so like kind of the supernatural ones, but I do really like just like psychological things with serial killers and just really crazy regular humans. And then just all the artsy horror movies that are kind of coming out. I do really like those. Yeah, I used to think they were really pretentious, but now I really like them.
We're kindred spirits. Those are the two things I really like. I like that spooky shit, and then I like the ones that are so weird. Like,
yeah, like I want like the weirdest things, and people are like, "Why would you even make this?" I'm like, I don't know. That's why it's so good. Yeah.
I hate having to be that person because I'm totally into the really artsy shit now. So I have to explain like why this is scary. Why the scene was crafted this way.
Yeah.
I was watching. Speaking of Dark Knight, just randomly, I was watching Dark Knight like the other night. Or sorry, I was Dark Knight Rises, and there was a whole scene where I was just talking to my girlfriend about the lighting in it because I was like, look how perfect this lighting is for this scene. Sorry,
Christopher Nolan fanboy.
I'd say I do the same, but my boyfriend falls asleep 5 minutes within a movie, so I don't even try to watch movies with him anymore.
So he's just got that old man spirit. It's like the movie's on, it's nap time.
And he's also not a horror movie person.
Really?
So, yeah.
Interesting.
I'm like, do you want to watch the movie with me that I'm going to be talking about? He's like, okay. I'm like, it's kind of possession-y, and he's like, no. Have fun watching that by yourself.
Cool. Well, do you guys want to talk about what we've been up to?
Sure.
Who wants to go first? Buzi, do you want to go first?
Sure. I don't got much. I've just been really busy with life, so I haven't had a time to read or watch a lot of things. So all I did is I finished up Chernobyl. Last episode came out last night. It was fantastic. I hate blowing smoke for it because it does annoy me a little bit that everyone's like, this is the best rated TV show ever. And I know most times when people hear that, they're like, well, it can't be. You know, it's like a challenge. Like, it can't be that good. But I do consider it like one of the best shows I've ever watched on TV. So, yeah, that's all I watched. I just finished that. So.
We're going to do that this weekend. Because I didn't know it was only 5 episodes.
Yeah.
So now it's all done.
But like don't make me saying how much I like it swing you to not like it.
Is that streamed online anywhere? Or is it just
it's on Crave.
Crave is where
I that one.
Crave is awesome. I just got it. Well, like
sometimes if you just type things into the internet, you find.
I've never ever done that. I didn't have to watch.
Gabrielle, what have you been up to?
Okay, so knowing that I was coming on here, I tried to fit in a few movies. I honestly have not been watching a lot lately because, like I said, I work full time, then I do my art stuff, and now that I'm streaming, which normally that means that I would have been watching a movie or something while I'm doing art, and now I'm not even doing that. So, in preparation, I tried to fit in as much as I could. So, first of all, I watched You Might Be the Killer.
Oh, yes.
Because I knew that was one of the ones at the festival,
we watched at the film festival, what did you think of it?
That's got, what's her name from American Pie, right?
The
Allison Hannigan.
Yeah, Allison, and the dude from, oh my God, we're bad. That girl from American Pie, that guy from the Cabin in the Woods. He's the stoner guy from Cabin in the Woods, but
the extended bong guy.
Yeah.
I think for that one, I want to have liked it more than I did.
Me too.
I
think I was nicer on the show about it than I actually.
I remember you saying that it was all right. Like there wasn't like glowing reviews, but
I feel like it tried too hard to be campy in a way that it ended up being like so campy that it was the wrong kind of campy.
Yeah.
If that makes any sense.
It wasn't smart about its campy.
Yeah, I felt like it was being like too on the nose about who it was kind of parodying in a way that it kind of just stopped doing that.
It kind of felt like I had the same criticism for The Final Girls. Have you seen that? Like I went back. I used to not like it, but I watched it again after You Might Be the Killer because I had the same criticism for that one, but I actually like it more now. But You Might Be the Killer was like they're making or it's like satirizing horror movies by a guy who clearly hasn't watched that many horror movies. Like guys who just think that the horror genre is just Friday the 13th.
Because that's what it felt like. The entire thing was only Friday the 13th with hints of mocking like Scream kind of references where it's like she's clearly just like Jamie Kennedy's character the entire time. And it's like there's just hitting you in the face with it. Like it's
kind of annoying.
It had some fun kills though. I have that. And that I like the ending where it flashed the new tally. If you remember that. I liked cool. that. I thought that was something kind of fun.
Yeah, I had ideas, but it just didn't all come together.
Yeah. I mean, it's a fun movie to put in the background is what I would do. I watched RE-ANIMATOR for the first time.
Hey.
It was fun. It was...
You weren't really into it?
I was going to say, that's not a glowing review. That's okay.
like, it wasn't bad by any means.
Yeah.
Like, would I watch it again? Yeah, probably. I think I was just expecting a lot more.
Yeah.
That's right, because we talked it up quite
Well,
a
yeah.
bit.
And
you hear about it all the time, right? So.
It is like among horror fans, it's one of those movies that just gets people gush over it so hard that it's almost impossible to live up to that hype.
And I just feel like I definitely don't have that perspective of growing up with so many of these movies. Like, everything I'm watching for the first time when I'm at least like 14 or older. So it's like, I think it's some of it's just kind of lost with my viewing experience. But I also don't like how they use the Psycho song in the soundtrack.
Oh, yeah.
That drives me crazy. Because Psycho's my favorite.
Yeah.
So, no, don't touch that. I also watched HOUSE LLC. Was that the one you were telling me to watch, Buzi?
I think I've been telling him to watch it forever.
Yeah, that's still on my list of not watched
I've been trying to get him to watch it.
Because I know you told me to watch a couple things, and I don't remember if I watched any of the ones you told me to watch. So, you watched HOUSE?
I thought it was... Like, that's a movie that...
It's found footage.
100% Buzi would like... Like, it's one of those ones where if I hadn't have been the one to tell him to watch it, he would have watched it by now. Like, you
know how backlogged? I have like a huge
You
list.
would love that movie. Did you like it?
I liked it.
There's one scene in that movie that destroyed me. Like, he's in a bed and he wakes up.
Oh,
it's a spoiler, so we'll talk about it afterwards. But there's a scene in that movie that just fucking creeped me out so bad.
I really liked it because I've definitely like going to haunted houses and stuff like that. So the concept of people setting up a haunted house and all that is just really fun, and like documenting the process of making it and everything. It didn't feel like a really forced concept. It was just like a bunch of idiots setting up a haunted house and look at what we're doing.
Since I've done one now, this is exactly how that works.
Yeah.
And so it's scary because it's them with all of their props and all of their stuff. So can you just imagine what it would be like if you're setting up a haunted house and suddenly your own thing is against you? Like,
yeah, I'm happy you brought that one up on the last of our found footage episodes, because that's a really good recent found footage movie. I still haven't seen. There's a second one. It's on Shudder. Apparently, it's not good.
What's it called?
It's
just called
Abaddon Hotel or something like
okay.
that. But yeah, like it's apparently not very good at all. But the first one is very surprised.
I really liked it. I watched Sleepwalkers.
Oh yes.
Oh no.
Yes. Did you love it? You love cats too.
I love cats. So as soon as that first scene happened with all the cats in the trees, I'm like, it's not a very nice movie.
Yeah.
But
oh yeah, it starts off pretty bad for that.
I'm not gonna lie, I had to replay like the first scene with the guy and his mom 3 times to make sure that I was following their like relationship dynamic, because the first 2 times I only had the speakers on my computer monitor and it was maxed out, but it wasn't loud enough, and so I kept thinking like she was saying she's his mom, and I was like, I'm not getting this. Then I plugged in my headphones and I played it through again, and I'm like,
100% incest.
Yeah. That was one of those like, did I hear that right?
Yeah, but 3 times I had to listen to it.
So did you like it though?
I did. I thought it was fun.
It's super fun.
The only comment I have on here is, wow, rude to kill all those cats.
Yeah.
And that's the only thing I wrote.
Exactly.
But
and it sucks that that's how the movie opens up, and then the rest of it's quite feline friendly.
Except when they're trying to trap them all.
I guess so.
Poor things. And then I watched 2 more. Then we'll stop talking about me. I watched Mayhem.
Ooh.
Which I really liked and thought was very therapeutic if you ever feel frustrated at work.
If you hate your job, it's like the horror version of Office Space.
So I was just sitting there the whole time going, I wonder what would happen if that happened to me. And then I decided it's probably not best to go down that train of thought.
And especially you're in kind of an environment that's kind of like...
I'm in an office.
Yeah, you're much like in Mayhem. Fuck, I love that movie, though.
We're a 3-story building. There's a good balcony.
Oh I thought
so
that
you
movie
put more thought into it than you're leading on here.
Yeah. Oh man, it's impossible not to when you're watching that movie. That's why, like, have you seen the Belko Experiment?
No, but I've been meaning. I want to watch it.
That's one that people compare them on because
they came out the
same year, very similar concept. But I thought Mayhem was far superior, and that's because like it's because it got more creative with the idea, and like there's so many. Like, I love how it's like it just makes people like act out their like strongest urges, and like that, like there's all the like sex addicts in one room and like all the like drug addicts and then guys who are alcoholics and like it's just so fucking
and the guy
funny.
with his cocaine the whole time just picks it up by the handfuls and smushes it into his face. Then last one I watched is Wolf Creek.
Ooh, that's a dark one.
I liked it.
I love Wolf Creek, but
don't watch 2.
No?
I've heard it's good. I still haven't seen it, but I've heard it's really good. And there's a TV show that's supposed to be pretty good.
Is there a TV show for
that? Yeah, it's on Shudder.
I mean, going from like 1 being so good to 2, I wasn't as impressed. But yeah,
I still gotta watch 2. But I thought 1 was one of those ones where I watched on like a day where I called in sick for work, and I was like by myself, and I was like just miserable afterwards. It sucks the life out of you.
Was that your first time watching it?
Yeah, it was. All these were my first time watching them.
Awesome.
I made a list of things that were on Shudder that I wanted to watch.
And you didn't watch Kuso, hey?
I watched Kuso the day it came out.
Oh. Yeah, that's amazing. Yes.
There's you and Diego. They're like, why are we getting these hits from Saskatoon? Yeah.
I was showing the trailer to everyone at work. I'm like, hey, look at this movie.
Fuck, that's funny.
No, but for Wolf Creek, like I really liked it, but it's definitely there's not a single good vibe throughout that whole movie. No. But I think that's kind of why I like that, because every now and then it's nice to get that one that's like so grounded that you're like, this is real.
Yeah.
It's like you don't get because I'm really into true crime and stuff too, so then it's like this is watching the other side of it.
Oh yeah, and like that's especially if you're a fan of true crime, Wolf Creek is a good one because it shows like how human the killer is and how like how manipulative and nice he is though, and like
what was that other Australian one that just came out recently that's really miserable to watch? It's about the 2 serial killers. Yeah, Hounds of Love. That's a hard watch.
I loved Hounds of Love, but it is hard because it's like a child. It's like Room, but a horror movie. Like, have you seen the movie Room? I guess Room is kind of a horror movie, but like Hounds of Love is just oh god, it's awesome. But
yeah, I love the really like
real
solemn
shit?
Ones. Yeah.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Okay. Well, then Hounds of Love. Have you seen what was that one that?
You're not even giving me anything so I can guess.
Yeah, I'm trying to...
Pointing. That's
one that everyone... Oh, yeah.
One word.
Eden... I think Eden Lake.
Is that the one
Michael Fassbender?
Yes.
Yeah, you've seen it?
Yes.
I thought that one was pretty miserable.
It wasn't as bad as I thought it was going to be. And I think that's probably because I heard you talk about it. And then I'm like, okay, this is going to be crazy.
I knew absolutely nothing about it going into it. And then the kid goes Super Saiyan.
2 or 3.
I don't know. Yeah, no, that's cool. I'll send you recommendations of really miserable horror movies.
Awesome.
Cool.
As I sit alone in my room and watch them.
Light week for the Tear Table Boys, at least. Like you and I. Like
I have one more thing to mention, if that's okay.
Yeah.
I actually got interviewed for a podcast on Sunday, which will be out in 3 weeks, and we are going to be having the host of that show on our podcast as well, Sean Broom with the Story of You podcast. The story of you. You, like the letter U.
Yeah.
Yes.
Cool.
And I checked out a couple episodes before going on the show just so I knew what I was in for, and it's actually just honestly a really interesting podcast. He's just talking to all these people and they just go over their life story. So I think my episode's going to be out in 3 weeks, and I hope nobody listens to it because I say nice things about people.
I'm looking forward to
I said some nice things about you and Diego.
No, not Diego. For sure not Diego. I know we can't speak ill of the dead, but... Okay, cool. So keep an eye out for that, and we'll post about it on all of our social medias when it comes out. I got a couple things to mention. Once again, podcast heavy week. I know that I haven't taken in a lot of movies because I've been watching before this I was watching Game of Thrones, and now I'm into Boardwalk Empire. Not going to talk about that stuff here, not horror. But in the times I've been driving and able to listen to podcasts, I've checked out. I've talked about Shockwaves multiple times on here. I think everyone I would assume that if you listen to us, you also listen to Shockwaves. Do you listen to Shockwaves?
I don't know.
Okay,
or you're at least aware of it.
Yeah, well, I don't. Some people might not be, but to me, they're for sure the biggest horror podcast, and I don't think they're necessarily the best. It's just something I've always kind of listened to. But they had a really good episode with Christine McConnell on it, and do you guys know who that is?
I know the name, but I'm not...
The Curious Creations of Christine McConnell. Yeah. It was on Netflix. It was a Netflix show. So anyways, I was very surprised by how much I enjoyed the conversation with her. It's their most recent episode. She's extremely interesting. Huge Alien fan, so it's cool hearing her talk about that. But you got to follow her, and her Instagram is fucking nuts. She's basically... She has a Netflix show, and it unfortunately was just not renewed for a second season. but they have like Jim Henson puppets with her, and it's a crafts show, and it was dropped around Halloween. I'm surprised. Have you seen any of it?
I've seen I saw it when it was on Netflix.
Yeah.
I didn't watch it, but I had lots of people recommend it to me too.
Yeah, because it's definitely something that's a
you're
little
probably
up your
gonna
alley.
like this.
Yeah, it's definitely something up your alley. I think because I started the show when it dropped in October, and it just did nothing for me, so I stopped watching it, and I was like, it's just not for me. And I listened to the episode, and I enjoyed listening to her talk so much, and hearing her talk about she was hired for when Alien Covenant came out. She makes cakes and like treats and anything craftsy or anything edible and craftsy she makes, and it's all like kind of spooky or horror related in some way. She did, if you go on her Instagram account, she did an incredible xenomorph
Do you
cake.
remember what her Instagram?
It's just Christine McConnell, as far as I know. I'll send it to you after this, but yeah.
Well, I meant more for our listeners, but
yeah, I guess they're the ones.
Screw those guys.
I just followed her, so I'll actually look it up here. But no, it's just fucking, it's nuts. Like I love just I fell down the rabbit hole of her. Yeah, it's just Christine McConnell. So. But I fell down the rabbit hole of all of her stuff. She recently did a cake for Mortal Kombat, which is super cool. I'm going to try to find this alien cake so I can show Buzi, and he can go into the mic and say, ooh, like that's a cake.
Ooh.
Is that cool?
That's awesome.
That's amazing.
Yeah, so I don't know. I really liked that episode, and then I ended up going back to the show, and I still don't like the show. But I like the stuff that she does. Enough to bear with it. I can kind of understand how it didn't get a second season. As far as I know, a lot of people really liked it, but it's really strange because it's all about her being like, she lives with Jim Henson like puppet, like they were actually designed.
They're
by the
like
Henson
alive in
Company.
her house.
Yeah,
with her,
it's kind
right?
of like Labyrinth and Dark Crystal, stuff like that, and like they have like weird jokes, like, and actually some of them are like super adult. So I know my nieces love the show because she just like bakes and stuff like that. It's worth checking out, but the episodes are super short, so I'm more so recommending following her on Instagram. I think her Instagram is really cool. So that was sweet. And then other than that, our friend Andy from Area International sent me a message about a new podcast that he thinks I would like, and it is called Visitations, and it is hosted by the guy from Flipper, Elijah Wood.
What a pull! When I think of Elijah Wood, I go right to Flipper.
Yeah, I don't ever want him to be known. It's like, well, I remember when the Lord of the Rings movies were coming out, I was like, hey, it's the guy from Flipper. So now I'm not going to ever think of him as something else. But it's Elijah Wood and Daniel Noah, who are the producers. Their production company is called Spectre Vision, and they've put out movies like A Girl Walks Home Alone at Night and recently Mandy. So they do like really artsy, weird movies, and I love both of those. And I know Elijah Wood is a huge horror fan, so I was interested to hear him interview horror. It's just basically every week they have a different someone involved in the horror genre on. And Andy felt like he'd recommend it to me because they had Mike Flanagan on, and I was just very curious if he was going to bring up wearing a t-shirt in the pool.
At the end of the episode, and I want everyone to know that I take my shirt off when I go in the pool.
That's like it's a very serious podcast. Like it's not like, it's definitely, they're a lot more highbrow than we are here. But if you're
honestly, that doesn't take much.
No, but if you're a fan of just listening to directors talk, like so far they have 2 episodes out, Mike Flanagan and Taika Waititi. I started the Taika Waititi one, but the audio quality isn't great. But we all know what it's like. Well, me and you know, it's like starting a podcast. You got to work out the kinks a little bit. So I'm sure their audio quality is going to get better. But I really enjoyed the conversation with Mike Flanagan. It was really interesting to hear him talk about stuff outside of the horror genre, but still connected to it. I'm just not going to spoil anything for you. Check it out. And that is everything I have this week that I've been up to.
Okay.
But next week, Courtney's been gone, so I've had to not watch horror movies because she wants to watch them with me. So now she's back, and we're going to be pieces of shit this weekend. So expect next week I'm going to talk about 30 movies. But let's get on with some news. Gabby, would you like to do the honors?
Oh gosh. Put me on the spot now.
Yeah.
Oh god. Now you're all staring at me.
Yeah.
Hit me with the motherfucking news, Booze.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, it's time for the news.
I was gonna, yes, he did a voice.
You want to hear some weird shit? Because this is like really weird.
Always.
Do you guys like Magic 8 Balls?
I have that in here, and fuck me is a stupid. Go on.
Do you guys love Magic 8 Balls?
No.
Do you love Bloomhouse? Well, what if you put those
Blumhouse.
together and made a Magic 8 Ball movie? I like it's just like
I don't
crickets.
even have a response for
Okay.
that, though. Did
So-
someone ask for this?
Yeah, Mattel, who makes the 8 Balls, and Blumhouse have teamed up to make a Magic 8 Ball movie.
Mhm.
It's gonna be directed by the guy who did Truth or Dare. So just fuck yeah.
Which I've avoided so far,
my
so I
God.
can't wait to add
Yeah,
another
that
one
was
to my do
something.
not watch list.
I normally just go, it's not for me, but it's like, no, that was a piece of shit. Like,
I wonder if he's like gonna be known as that director's like on cleanup crew.
Just
Just
does-
whatever scripts are left on the table at the end of the day, he's like, I'll take these.
just a Magic 8 Ball movie is just beyond fucking stupid.
I feel like
There's-
we're living in a like Saturday Night Live sketch about horror movies.
yeah, where they're like trying to find the next big thing, and
Yeah.
it's just fucking.
It's kind of
not
like they're
working.
just drawing from a hat, where
Yeah,
they were like
totally.
went around a classroom and were like, "What's your favorite toy? Let's make movies."
I know, and they did that after Transformers was a hit, and then they made Battleship, which I love. Like I don't know
Haven't
if
seen it.
It is one of the best pieces of shit ever. Like it's like the best because remember the board game Battleship? Like you sunk my battleship.
Everybody knows Battleship.
There's fucking aliens in this movie, like and Rihanna.
We had to spice it up somehow.
Oh my
Having
god.
recently played Battleship, at least like not even a year ago,
Yeah.
at the board game cafe, there are no aliens
Yeah,
in there.
there's no aliens.
Can confirm.
Can confirm
And
there are
there's
no aliens.
There's no Rihanna. Oh my god, I love that movie. It's so bad.
The trailer for 3 from Hell, Rob Zombie's upcoming film, the trailer will be out next week.
I
If
feel
that's
like
something you're interested in or ready for.
I feel like he's been saying this for fucking ever. Like it's been like every week. It's like trailer from Hell is coming next week, or trailer for 3 from Hell.
Trailer from
Trailer
Hell.
from Hell.
I don't know what you guys feel. I'm not super excited about it.
I love the Devil's Rejects.
Yeah, but that was a good way to end that
The
section.
Devil's
of-
Rejects is the second one, right?
Yes.
Okay, I only watched that one
Yeah,
completely blindly, going into it not knowing it was a Rob Zombie movie. So
Mhm.
that's the impression I got, and I haven't watched it
I
since
think
or
it's-
seen the first.
So did you not like it though?
I watched it before I was as into everything
Yeah.
as I am now, so I'd probably have to give it a rewatch.
Yeah, well, it's like the only movie that he can justify having people just talk like complete inbreds,
Mhm.
and that's
But-
because they
but I
are.
mean-
I got probably 2.5 minutes into his Halloween remake and then shut it off,
Oh,
and then
lucky
found
you.
the original from other sources. But I couldn't make it through that one, but I
Yeah,
could
you
try
did-
this
you did good.
brand.
I don't know. Like,
I'm
just-
interested, but also like
What's there to do?
I don't know.
That's
We'll find out.
That's the
He's
point
got-
that I wanted to get at. Is you had these 2 movies and Devil's Rejects finished so well. Even people who don't like Rob Zombie or don't really like horror movies consider that to be a great ending to a film.
Yeah,
That pretty much spiked Freebird sales through the roof again.
that is by far that. Yeah, he did to. No, I'm not even. I was gonna say Rob Zombie did to Freebird what Wayne's World did to Queen, but no, I don't. I remember just being like, oh, Devil's Rejects isn't as bad as his other movies. I was like, oh, it's great because I hate everything
On the
else he
Rob
does.
Zombie scale.
Yeah, like 31 was, in my opinion, by far his worst movie, and that was his most recent one. So we'll see.
Yeah. For all the Jurassic World fans, including myself, I guess, there is a kids' TV show coming to Netflix in 2020. I didn't realize that Jurassic World and... Thanks, Mitch.
Oh god,
It's just
it's so
making
bad.
faces.
I'm drinking the world's worst whiskey right now.
I didn't realize that Netflix had partnered up with anything to do with the Jurassic Park license or whatever, but they're going to have their own TV show in 2020. It's called Jurassic World Camp Cretaceous. It's an animated show, and it's in the same universe, and same universe as World, so it's supposed to be around that same time period. So I'm assuming it's before the events of World when they actually have the park going still.
Have you seen any of the Godzilla animated show on Netflix?
Are you talking about like the really old one?
No, it's new. Like it's like a
because
Netflix
I watched
original.
like the 1998 TV show a long time ago.
No. That's not a thing. No, but like that's what I was wondering if this Jurassic World thing is going in that direction because It's pretty cool.
It seems
like,
cool.
Is this supposed to be a kid? Is
yes,
it geared for
it's
kids?
targeted
okay, then
for
this
kids.
is not the same.
Yeah,
Godzilla is definitely not targeted for kids.
I'm sure that there will be very little violence or spooky stuff through the whole thing. It's for kids. It's just trying to get more marketing just pushed in there because that's exactly what we need. And this is also more Jurassic Park World. Basically, Bryce Dallas Howard confirmed without speaking. She verbally confirmed that the original cast, who are still alive, are going to be in the next Jurassic World film. Which, fuck me, that sounds the worst.
Yeah, remember when they did that with Jeff Goldblum in Jurassic World 2?
They just stuffed him in there because they knew they had a shit movie.
He was there to be trailer fodder.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure they crammed him in after because like this is such a bad movie.
Everyone was so excited for Jeff Goldblum to return, and it's like he speaks for 30 seconds.
He's in his own movie, pretty much.
For 30 seconds.
David Lynch will receive an honorary Oscar in October. He gets a I can't remember the exact title, but it's basically like a lifetime achievement to cinema film award. So good for him. You know, we're always talking about how people who've done horror or sci-fi, that sort of thing, don't always get a lot of credit. So this is a good step. Whether
it is, but Lynch has always been like elevated. Lynch has always been the artsy. Like,
he's woke.
Yeah, he's very woke.
Actually, today, I believe it was today, we got the second trailer for Scary Stories to Tell in the Dark.
I still haven't watched it.
It pretty much fleshes out exactly what the whole movie is, right down to segments. They literally say what segment it is and then show something from that segment.
I'm gonna watch it right after this.
So it's a feature length. It's not an anthology, but the way it's set up is like an anthology. It's basically a group of people finding this book, and then they're going through, and these names are in here, and they basically trigger things to start happening. So it's like segments as each individual creature, I guess, quote unquote, you would say, is happening.
Like the Page Master.
Yeah, but it's really annoying that I'm just gonna gloss over you saying that.
Page Master is awesome.
It feels like they showed way too much. Like everything looked really cool. I don't know if you guys have seen the other trailer.
I saw the other trailer.
Everything looks really cool, but it just feels like they gave everything away for me. Even to the point where they said what characters aren't gonna make it, which is a lot for me. I don't know. Like I don't know why they're trying to sell it so hard. Next up, Gary Doberman, who worked on It and the Nun, who is supposed to be working on Are You Afraid of the Dark, recently said that he is no longer part of it at all. And we've been talking about Are You Afraid of the Dark coming back for so long. Yeah. And like it was supposed to come out this year actually, and it was completely pulled from it. And they'd asked Gary Doberman about it, and he said they hadn't done any filming on it. It was at a standstill, and that he was no longer involved. And he was supposed to be doing the writing and directing for it. So it's kind of dead in the water right now. I'm assuming in 2 years, if we're still doing this podcast, we might hear something about it. But
yeah, well, I heard that they were planning on making like a much darker Are You Afraid of the Dark, like geared more so for adults.
I couldn't even get through the original though.
Yeah, but I can understand why.
Like there's fear in your. There's more.
Oh god. Yeah.
The 31st year of Discovery Channel's Shark Week is commencing on Sunday, July 28th. It's 20 hours of nonstop shark act. I feel bad as I've never fully watched a Shark Week.
Oh, it's awesome. I love Shark Week. Yeah.
I don't know.
It's great.
I don't even know if I've watched one episode of anything that time.
Well, there's definitely some episodes that are far better than others because they do a lot of reenactments, which is kind of lame. But there's some really interesting stuff in it.
Yeah, so if you're interested, I didn't realize that it had been going on for 31 years. So if you're still on board, go check that out. For our PS4 users, we will have an upcoming remastered version of the Ghostbusters video game, which I can't remember what year it came out in. I think it's 2009 originally, but apparently it's very beloved by the Ghostbuster community. And I was going to say, I haven't played it, so I mean, if I'm wrong, people can tell me that I'm wrong.
Cool. I'll play it.
Unfortunately, I have some sad news. Leo, who was one of the cats in Pet Sematary, passed away. And it was very unfortunate because I've been following... I believe there was 3 cats that all played Church in the film, and I follow all of them on Instagram. And yeah, I was having like a rough day, and I went on Instagram. The first thing that popped up was a picture of him, and then it said "Rest in Peace" underneath. And I was like, no! Like, it just made my day worse. Now for happy news. This is very happy news. We got our first trailer for 47 Meters Down, Uncaged. I immediately tagged Mitch as soon as I was done watching it that he should watch it. And did you watch the trailer?
Yes.
What did you think?
I think it looks dope.
I think it looks great.
Very
excited.
excited.
Have you seen?
For it.
I haven't seen the trailer, but I did watch the 47.
The first one?
Yeah.
Did you
whatever
like
it's
it?
called. It was okay. Like I think it was better than I was expecting. I'm not.
Yeah.
I'm
I think it
not
was
like
better
a
than a lot of people
creature
expected.
movie kind of person
Yeah.
in general, so I wouldn't be like, oh, shark movie as
Yeah.
much as you guys are.
Okay.
The
But
sharks are
yeah, it was
definitely our
okay.
thing. Like, me and Buzi are big on sharks.
And I think they used the perfect words to explain it. Is they were basically like it's The Descent but with sharks. So you have two great things and you're putting them together and it makes me happy.
Yeah, and of course, like the dumber the better. Like I'll be happier if they just go a little more balls to the wall because it's fucking stupid. Like sharks don't go after people like that, and these are sharks in caves.
in this universe, they do.
Yeah, like I just want them to have laser beams for eyes.
For eyes?
Yeah,
They can never blink.
yeah.
And last piece of news I have, if you have more stuff after Mitch, you can go ahead, but this is the last piece I have. Friend of the show and former guest, Nicholas Humphreys, his film Project Ithaca, which is coming out soon, has some limited showings around Canada. So if you're in any of these areas, there's going to be playing June 12th in Sudbury, June 17th will be Vancouver, Toronto, and Montreal, June 18th in Calgary, and June 20th in Ottawa. So if you're in any of those areas and want a chance to check it out, I believe Cineplex is pretty much running all of them. So that's a big step for him, and so far he's gotten a lot of positive things said about that. So we're always hoping that people are on here, our friends, or just people in general that are doing great stuff, get a chance to shine.
Yeah, no, I really wish we could see it in a theater. That
Yeah,
would've been
I
awesome.
commented and I was like, what the fuck, man?
But
Nova
when-
Saskatchewan.
But since Nicholas told us to pirate his movies, when that happens, me and you will have a viewing party. We'll watch Project Ithaca here.
We'll post about it. Just torrented this.
Yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
I got one last thing, and that is that all of our prayers have been answered. Blu-ray, Scream Factory is going to be releasing John Carpenter's Vampires on Blu-ray on September 24th.
Yeah, I may have glossed
and
over that.
I thought you were a vampires apologist. I
think it's
thought it was
hilarious,
me
but
and you.
I think it's hilarious as a movie, and I would watch it again. But I'm not buying that.
Oh, I am 100%. I bought Sleepwalkers.
I know you did. Like, I can't justify spending $30 on vampires.
Man, I loved vampires when I was a kid, and I haven't watched it in a long time. I've read some articles on how it's actually a misogynistic piece of shit.
Oh, it is.
So
yeah.
I don't remember any of that. So that's why, I'm worried to go back and be like, oh, this movie I loved as a kid is super brutal like that. But I loved that movie as a kid. I think James Wood sucks, but I'm excited to watch vampires.
Most of his lines in that movie, you're either scratching your head, like, did he just say that, or you're actually palming your head,
Yeah.
holy shit, he said that.
Well, that was at the time of From Dusk Till Dawn came out a couple years before that, and that's one of my favorite vampire movies. So and it's kind of it's nowhere near as good as From Dusk Till Dawn. But
Yeah.
I remember being oh, it's spooky, and there's vampires in the desert, and they shoot crossbows. So Mitch is happy. But either way, I will 100% will be buying that, and I'll be pre-ordering.
It'll add to your collection.
Yes.
All right.
I've wanted that one on Blu-ray for a while, so I'm excited. Now Ghosts of Mars. No, that one can die.
All right, I guess that's it for news.
Yeah, let's get on to our main feature presentation, which we'll be talking about Gabrielle's pick, The Taking of Deborah Logan.
From 2014?
We can get to that in the main feature.
'73 Apple, take one, Mark.
The story of Alzheimer's is never about one person. My PhD I'm gonna start again.
You want to keep the house, you need to sacrifice.
You talk to me about sacrifice?
Hey. Hi.
Ma! They want to make a movie about me.
Yes. We will live and document our subjects' physical and mental degradation over the course of 2 one-month periods.
We're gonna have fun, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. I'm not interested in being exploited.
Sarah mentioned that Deb's been sleepwalking pretty bad. So let's set up surveillance cams. He really gave us all quite a fright with your late night gardening.
And we have reached our main feature in which we'll be discussing the taking of Deborah Logan, otherwise also known as The Taking, I guess. Some places call it just The Taking. But this is...
Isn't there an actual film just called The Taking, though? That's also a horror film?
There has to be.
I'm pretty
the one
sure
with
there
Liam
is.
Neeson, or...
No, not
Taken.
So this is written and directed by Adam Robitel, and Adam Robitel is also behind movies like this year's Escape Room. He directed, and he also...
Surprising hit Escape Room. Kind of like that movie.
Yeah, we kind of liked it. Have
Kinda
you seen
like
it?
it.
I didn't.
It's
no.
like it's bad, but it's entertaining.
I'm very curious about your
It was
your
very
episode,
serviceable.
I think he's a very good director, and if that movie didn't have a really awesome director behind it, it could have been unwatchable.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know. I thought it was pretty good. But he also directed a movie that I have been... I feel like I'm going to be fighting on top of the Insidious 4 mountain forever. But
That's The Last Key,
He
right?
directed the Insidious 4 The Last Key, which I really enjoyed. And Buzi put on his list, which his kill list. But yeah, either way, this movie is based around a documentary crew who wants to film an elderly woman who's battling Alzheimer's, and she agrees to let the crew to document her illness and the progression of it and just her everyday life with her family.
Because of monetary gain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so that is where we're at. So something more sinister happens. It's a horror movie, you guys. Surprise.
Just kidding. It's a wholesome family documentary.
Yeah.
A wholesome family documentary about Alzheimer's.
So this
It's a happy ending. She overcomes it.
I'm really happy Diego's not here for this one. Fuck.
Would he hate it?
No, he has some dark jokes though. His grandma had Alzheimer's and he makes jokes about it.
He would have lit his grandma.
I guess I
on that
just
one.
did it for him, but anyways.
That one's for you, Diego.
Yeah. Okay, so this is going to be closing off our found footage series, and it's funny that you chose this movie because from the very first episode, we've both, I think every episode this movie comes up. So Gabrielle, why did you choose The Taking of Deborah Logan to talk about today?
Well, first and foremost, when Buzi mentioned if I wanted to be on the show, you guys were sort of talking about the possession movies. So my question was, does The Taking of Deborah Logan count? But then it also totally fit into the whole found footage thing. But I picked it because when I first watched it on Netflix, it was kind of something I'd been avoiding because it just kind of kept popping up everywhere, and I'd read the synopsis and I'm like, oh, whatever, I'm not really interested. But then eventually I just threw it on one day and I was kind of caught off guard by how much I enjoyed it. I guess I wasn't expecting to like it as much as I did, or for it to be as good as it was for something I'd never heard of just sitting there on Netflix. So yeah, I thought it just kind of fit in nicely.
Yeah, that's awesome. Cool. So let's just talk about this thing then. Who wants to go first? Do you want to share what you like about it?
Sure. So
I'm assuming you like this movie.
Yeah.
You just said you liked it.
Yeah, upon second rewatch, I have a little bit of a different perspective, but like I still definitely enjoy it. I like that it starts out with a very different intention than most found footage, where normally it's like a bunch of people like are going to explore this haunted place, and
totally, I get that.
Or like I was saying with Hell House, where they're like, we're gonna go make a haunted house, and it normally starts with like that kind of sinister, dark intention of we're gonna catch some weird stuff, whereas this is like we're making a medical documentary about Alzheimer's.
It's
very serious.
It doesn't feel like a horror movie at the beginning, rightfully so. Like that's clearly a direction that he decided to go in.
Yeah, so it's just kind of nice that it starts from a completely different point than a lot of other ones, so I think that kind of allows it to explore different avenues and not be as boxed in as a lot of the other ones kind of get when you're ghost hunting all the time.
Yeah, cool. Buzi, you want to go next or you want me to go?
You go ahead.
So, like, I've been singing this movie's praises the last 4 episodes. Like, 'cause I think the first time I saw it, I actually didn't like it, and I think I was going through some found footage fatigue, and then I rewatched it. Like, I think Courtney wanted to watch it, and I was like, please don't make me do that again. And she really wanted to, so we watched it, and I was like, oh, this movie fucking rules. And like, I hadn't liked it at all the first time. I remember like, well, let's just say there's gonna be spoilers right from the get-go here, because it's a movie that's hard not to spoil, and we should just talk about it openly. It came out in 2014. Like you, my opinion has changed a little bit again. Like, so I've now seen this movie 3 times, But I think that this movie checks off all the things that you need in a successful found footage movie. They have a reason for the format. There's a reason why they're filming and why they would keep filming. And like that's one thing that, you need to have in your found footage movie for it to be successful, in my opinion. I think it also has well above average actors, because that's something that you need, because you can't rely on camera tricks or stuff. Like, there's obviously camera tricks in found footage, but it really comes down to believing the characters.
It's kind of harder to suspend disbelief in found footage where you're trying to market it as being something a little bit more real.
Especially for this film, like if the lady who played Deborah wasn't as good and believable as
she's so good.
Yeah, I 100% think that like it would totally fall apart.
It could have been very hokey.
Yeah.
And it could have been disrespectful too. Like the movie's dealing with a serious topic like Alzheimer's, and it's something that's touchy for a lot of people. And I love that they don't linger on that for too long. Like once they start to really figure out, hey, this ain't Alzheimer's. I love that they did that. Like
this ain't your mama's Alzheimer's.
But like I love how they dealt with that. And as soon as they get the medical stuff out of the way, which they treat very well, and like it actually feels like a professionally made documentary about like a medical assessment.
It feels like they're actually doing it for the right
and they
reasons.
give a shit.
It's not just like this lady has Alzheimer's and we got a camera. Because some movies do, they gloss over a lot of what you need as your character building and your story building at the start. Because maybe they had some cool ideas but they just don't do it right. I feel like this movie like from the start knows that it's going to take relatively the high road for a lot of it and actually makes sense, and it feels like they did a little bit of the research.
Exactly. And I think another thing that great found footage movies have is all of the best ones have that extremely memorable, wicked-ass hook at the end. And this one has potentially, like, it's right up there with the Blair Witch Project. And like you had mentioned before, the guy in the corner of the room.
Yeah.
There's an image in this movie that is something that you... If it lands with you, you'll never forget it. And that's what I will always, like, it's like one of the most, like, straight-up shocking scenes I'd seen, because of how like this just wasn't that type of movie where something like this would happen. And of course we're talking about the snake head.
It did lay the groundwork for it, but there's
no way you could see that coming. No, she's gonna be swallowing
especially
a kid's head.
Especially with found footage films, you don't expect that level of craft to be put into a found footage. But it was so well done and it looks great, and what's happening is insane.
I remember even the first time I watched it, like I didn't like the movie, but I remember being like, hold on a fucking second. Like what the fuck is happening right now? And every time I just like, it's the money shot. Like it's fucking awesome.
It is, but like, I know that
also the best GIF. There's a GIF of it that people use all the time, and
I agree with what you're saying, but at the same time, that discredits so much of the rest of this film that does such a great job.
That was the first time.
Yeah, I know, because like everyone goes right to the end, and they're always talking about like, the snake thing or whatever. Because we've even done that on this show, but it's like everything else that's crafted around this film makes it a good film. It's not just a good film because it has a cool scene in it.
I think it's pretty sloppy though. Yeah, that's it. Like and that's where, upon rewatch, like I still really enjoy this movie, and I highly recommend people watching it. I think it's like one of the better found footage movies, but it's like in my recent rewatch that I rewatched it yesterday, it kind of goes all over the place in terms of tone, and that like kind of took me out of it. Like there's times where she's just what I like about her at the beginning is she's so clearly not crazy at the beginning. Like that's why I like, and she's not possessed at all. And like if anything, like I love how it actually feels like Alzheimer's at the beginning. Like that's what it
she's just kind of like a forgetful elderly lady.
And I don't think she's not one of those people who like, there's people who just look creepy, like to begin with. And we know this is a horror movie, so like I like that she wasn't. I personally didn't find her creepy at all until the shit starts happening.
Some of the cooler, like not cooler scenes, but some of the great scenes that kind of add to that what you're talking about is when they show her just like trying to open her umbrella or walking down the street and not remember where she's going, or even her paying for
trying to find the change and
stuff.
everything.
Yeah, which it makes you like feel bad, as you should, I guess. I mean, like my grandma had Alzheimer's, so I had to watch all that stuff happen, and it does feel quite a bit like they're doing it. It's just at a much more rapid pace they're going through these motions.
Yeah.
I wrote down like at the very beginning, you're just kind of seeing this like wholesome get to know Deborah, like introducing the focus of the documentary and really like getting to know her, and you could see that she's like her as herself is like a very put together woman,
Yeah.
and like
And
she's
also-
always like criticizing how her daughter looks about everything,
Yeah.
and so like there's that version of her, and then there's this other thing.
But like, I do like that I think also another important character is her daughter. I think if you took that character out completely, because it's such a buffer between your characters dealing with this lady who has Alzheimer's and this character in the middle who's kind of helping you along. Because there are certain scenes in this movie where things would be a lot creepier if she wasn't there, because she's trying to help constantly and stops her mom from doing a lot of things, which works as a really good buffer. I think it doesn't take away anything from it. Is you're watching this lady deal with what she's going through, as well as her daughter having to deal with
Which was
this.
part of the focus of their documentary
Yeah.
too, right? Because she was also trying to look at how it affects the people that, like
Yeah.
the primary caregiver
Yeah.
too. So like they were testing her blood pressure and all this stuff. Like,
I
yeah,
just-
this is
it's-
gonna kill you
And
too.
her daughter, like, and there's a lot of like drama in her daughter's life that she's going through, like with her sexuality and everything like that, and that's a really important part
Yeah,
of the movie
I think
as well.
that's your meat and potatoes there for this whole thing. Is that like things like that usually get glossed over, especially in found footage films, because they're trying to do it as cheap as possible and give you as little story as possible.
It's a lot more well thought out than
Yeah,
than your
like-
average found footage horror movie.
Yeah, like you were saying with her daughter dealing with her sexuality, and even talking about the story where she got sent to boarding school because
Yeah.
she was kissing a girl in a shed or something.
Yeah.
It's like heart moments like that flesh out all the characters so well that a lot of found footage films don't do at all. They don't give you that kind of story.
And I think that's why I'm a little more critical of like when I say it kind of goes all over the place, is because there are times where like this movie actually feels like it's almost it almost feels like it's above what it's doing. Like there's some scenes in the hospital with her like breaking out, and I'm like, this just feels like a straight up cliche horror movie.
Yeah, totally.
And like that's where I'm just like, it feels a little out of place for the rest of the movie. So well crafted and well thought out, and like they're putting so much thought into the characters, which is the most important thing in a movie. And then I get that they're making a horror movie, and like, you know, I love horror movies. I want it to get fucked up, but like I think they could have been a little bit more subtle with like certain things. Like,
Towards the end,
I didn't
yes.
need to see her jump. Like kind of, she gets towards the end it gets pretty bizarre, and I know, but let there be no confusion here that my favorite part is still the snakehead scene, like because it's fucking so awesome that you just can't help but love it. But like that, I think even that would have been more successful. There's no way you can see that coming. There's no way you could make it more successful. It's awesome.
No.
Sorry, but like I'm just saying, like it maybe could have been even more shocking if she wasn't already like kind of. She starts not necessarily to the point of like The Visit where they're crawling around and shit like that. Like because
she does get pretty wild
Yeah.
towards the end.
But I guess it also makes sense because it's not Alzheimer's.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't know. I think I like some of the stuff where it's ramping up, especially at the start with the possession stuff. Like I guess you don't like the counter scene.
like to me, it's just that it felt out of place.
Okay.
Like-
Because the way I look at it is like that's found footage 101. Because they even
I
set
know.
it up like
I think it's above
I
that.
think mom's sleepwalking. Let's set up some cameras so you can see it. And you know, just even you're hearing that for the first time when you're watching the film, and you're going like, oh fuck yeah, here's some good spooky shit's about to happen. Maybe that scene is a little bit underwhelming, but it does it points your characters in the right direction.
Yeah.
Which it's not supposed to be like, holy shit, that was terrifying. It's more so that your characters know what's going on.
I feel like it's conventional, and that's the thing, is like a lot of the rest of the movie isn't conventional, and that's what makes it such a strong movie, is that like it's actually something different that you haven't seen a billion times before, using the same format that you have seen a billion times before. And I don't know, I think it could, less is more, would have benefited this movie in some ways.
What I really liked about it was like the like I know you're kind of saying you don't like the more supernatural components of it that kind of feel weird.
And that's things I like that normally in movies, but I think that like they were crafting something that would have been better off without it.
Yeah, I totally get it. Yeah.
What I really like is kind of more so the scenes where Deb is actually getting like physically violent, and almost how scary that would have been in terms of horror alone, except her daughter's there saying like, no, it's because she's sick. But as soon as
she's using,
but
that's
then
the
you
buffer,
see
yeah.
as soon as Sarah, the daughter, starts to realize this isn't normal too, it becomes so much scarier, because suddenly she was the one before defending it, like, oh, it's okay, calm down, mom, everything's fine.
Yeah.
And then all of a sudden when she's scared, you're like, okay, now everyone's in
When
trouble.
she's attacking the
so
cameraman.
that's I think the physical aspect's kind of more scary than like the appearing
Exactly.
on the counter and all of that.
And even like you could have still written it off as a mental illness when she's just freaking out on the cameraman the one time, and then same with when she's in the garden and she's doing a little late
Yeah.
night gardening. But when she's digging,
Gardening.
I think one of the strongest scenes in the movie is where the cameraman just looking outside and she's digging, and then she like pulls out a snake, and it's just like a split second thing, and then he gets distracted.
What the fuck?
Yeah, it's weird that she just all of a sudden has a snake. Like it's simple and it's chilling, and then it's kind of like the whole. This movie did never go. Well, I guess it actually does go full droopy face, but I always talk about like in Grave Encounters, like for a while there, even in The Exorcism of Emily Rose, they have that where it's just like all of a sudden the jaw drops and it's black and bleh, you know,
when especially when you're looking at possession movies, that's a little over the top.
It happens all the time.
Yeah.
It's just so cliche, and it's not scary. Like the droopy face in this is scary because it's her jaw being detached.
Yeah, it's more of like the whole snake
head.
Dislocation kind of thing, and then the rest of the time it's just like blood dripping out of her mouth, so she doesn't go like the full.
Yeah, I think I kind of get what you're saying. Maybe I'm speaking for you guys out of turn, but it's when the movie gets so over the top with it being a quote unquote possession film that kind of ruins some of the stuff that they set up. I mean, the scene I'm thinking of in particular, just at the it's earlier in the film, is when she closes the window without touching it, and the cameraman like gets really freaked out, which it didn't fit with all the other things she was doing, because all the other things she was doing was very physical. Even when you had her playing with using the switchboard upstairs, that like stuff like that where you're going, okay, this is still a person doing things, and you can see that possession element. It's when it gets like overly supernatural that gets weird. I found a lot of the stuff with the snakes got a little too much. Like they're crawling through they basically at the start they use snakes as, ooh, this is creepy, you know, she has snakes and stuff, and by the end it's literally like she has
it's like her entire plot point,
yeah,
right?
like a confetti thing full of snakes, and she's just pumping them out everywhere.
Like, hey, snakes, everybody.
Yeah, it reminds me of like a video game villain. You have to fight them, and they randomly throw out snakes, and you have to defeat those, and then you do damage on the main, character. That's how it felt, because they did such a good job crafting things up until that point that it does feel very sloppy towards the end when they're there's better ways to ramp up towards. You can keep that snake scene at the end. It's perfect, but you could have done it like some of the other stuff a little bit better.
I felt like they went a little bit literally with the snakes.
Yeah.
Like she was spitting acid.
Yeah. Just, I don't know. I thought with like the whole
that.
concept of like the whole thing with the pediatrician who was like doing this like snake ritual, and I felt like if they hadn't gone as heavy into that, if they maybe would have left it a little more vague, it might have been a lot more effective, as there was this guy doing this weird stuff instead of like, he's doing a snake ritual from this tribe, which, by the way, I Googled, and that's not a real ritual, but that is a real tribe, so.
I can't stand when they need to over-explain everything. Like, it would have been scarier seeing her do that without fucking having any context to it.
Yeah, you could have literally just been like, oh, that's the ghost of Genghis Khan, and moved on. I didn't need to see him conquering things.
No, that's why I like, one of my biggest pet peeves in movies in general is when they need to Google something, or you're watching people Google something, or they find like
oh, you haven't heard this guy about this guy? Watch the documentary.
Exactly.
I did kind of like that it was an urban legend, though.
But like when they that when someone's like, oh, I need to find out what's happening to my mom, and then they're like, oh, weirdly enough, there's this author who has written exactly about this,
and he's in
doing
town.
a book signing. Like
I feel like the way they set it up in terms of him having been like a customer of her switchboard service and everything was totally fine. I just wish they maybe would have been a little bit more vague about having known what he was doing and why he was doing it, so that it kind of could have had just more of a...
because they added him as a serial killer, and
but he was doing like this occult serial killer thing, and I don't know, I think that was just like too much of a left turn from the main story. Yeah, because he had a
terminal illness as well. Like, I'm still trying to piece together all that, and it does. That part of the film really bothers me, and you actually reminded me of the scene I hate most in this movie is after they find his body, because it turns out that her and the gardener killed him.
Yeah, so she apparently, like, Deb had overheard on the switchboard service. This is how I interpreted, was that she was connecting a call for him, overheard that he was going to have her daughter as the fifth victim. So Deb and Harris, the gardener, buried him alive in the backyard.
No, they killed him. They killed him with the spade. That's why the spade was so important. And then they buried him in the. But I don't like. And then they put him in who the fuck was he calling? Yeah, I'm just gonna go kill this chick. Whatever, not a big deal.
I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure.
But the sorry, where I was going from that is they take this body that's up in the attic, which is a cool idea for a scene, but having so much exposition going up to that makes it less it's like Hereditary did it right.
You know exactly where it was going.
Yeah, Hereditary did it right. This did not. But they take this body downstairs, and it's like different sizes at various points, because you're like, oh, there's a body in there, and then it looks like a sack of potatoes for a while, like a small one. Yeah. So you never know, like, is this guy a really big midget, or
he could have been chopped up.
Yeah, I guess, but
you got to think about the different
the scene
ways.
that annoyed me so much of this whole thing, where it felt like someone came in and was like, we need more weird spooky shit, is they throw the body into the fire, and they actually used a stock sound effect that you hear in like 300,000.
Is it the Wilhelm scream?
It's something like it's literally, if I go back and find it, I will record it and send it to you. It's literally a very generic stock thing of like, whoa, and then snakes come out everywhere. Which, yeah, that sort of stuff went too over the top. I don't need a possession movie where random snakes are coming out of everything. That was a long story for that.
Yeah, like, and I'm terrified of snakes, so the snake shit worked for me. That's weirdly enough, like, it always uneases me. But they could have been a little more, like, sparing with it.
I feel like this movie it was taking such a high road for so long. Like, it would, like, someone would sit down and go, well, this is actually the black mamba snake, and it said that it will eat its own young, or something like that. Like, I felt they would have tied it in, but they were literally like, we're gonna throw snakes everywhere.
Exactly. And I think what's important to be said here is that, and I don't know if you guys agree with me, but the reason I'm being so critical about things like that is because the rest of the movie is so fucking good.
It was airtight until a certain point, and then it got too supernatural.
I think even at the end of all things said and done, I still love this movie, and I still think it's really good, and I think that people should be watching it. But like, those are the reasons why I'm good. Like, I will always be more critical about something that I like.
I think if it had taken away some of the stuff that we talked about, especially going so over the top, this would be, like, honestly, like, in a kind of semi-classic.
One of the best. I do think it's up there with found footage movies, but like, it definitely could have been like the GOAT.
Yeah, and it's like them even talking about why she keeps trying to take this girl who has cancer, like stuff like that. They actually set it up in a cool way. It wasn't just she's stealing children. And some of the scenes were really terrifying.
Yeah.
Of like the...
Just even seeing her standing there at any scene where she's just standing somewhere is terrifying looking, because just her posture and how disheveled she looks is just
exactly.
Watching
frightening.
her deteriorate.
Yeah.
That's the scariest part about it.
Because I just think, like, I know a lot of the time, like, classic jump scares and things like that, you're like, oh, that's so overdone. But when in this kind of movie where you're like, you're just trying to film a documentary about this sick woman, and all of a sudden she just keeps showing up behind you, I'm like, in that setting,
it works.
The jump scare works, because that is like the scariest thing that would happen to you, presuming you're just filming that movie, right?
Yeah.
And jump scares are a part of horror movies. I always get mad when people are like, oh, if it has a single jump scare, fuck that. It's just like, well, what do you...
But they're not like jump scares just to be like, oh, we need something to scare them right here.
It's not like just a loud piano noise that's gonna, of course, I'll startle you.
Yeah.
Which this one does have the loud music when they appear. I wish it kind of didn't, since it is the found footage.
Like every found footage movie, we kind of talked about that, how music can take away, like a soundtrack can really take away. And the other thing is, they, most found footages now have to use some form of like recording thing otherwise, like the security footage or something. And I felt that the scene where she attacked the guard on the way out felt so shoved in there that I didn't need it. She could have just left the hospital and it would have been like, oh, nobody was around or something. But like they had her like eat this dude.
Yeah,
but
I don't think we needed
glossed
that.
it over. It was a 5-second scene of her going, blah, 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 and then it was done.
At the end of the day, every found footage movie is going to be stupid because you have to think that someone cut together all of this footage and it's like, I'm going to show you people murdering people. So like it's dumb. That's why I think Ghostwatch stands at like the height, because it's like, oh, it's a live television event, so like that's why it makes sense why they would be happening. But I don't know where I was getting at with this, but it's an entertaining movie.
Okay, so you have more for... I was kind of going to go towards the ending of the film, so we can talk about that.
I wanted to ask, because like I was talking about how I felt it had like a different kind of setup for the initial movie, but I felt it still kind of had the cliche of like the camera guy who's kind of comic relief. 100%, did you guys notice? Because I kept writing down shit he was saying, because he's just like, at one point he's like, oh, that's some serious Scooby-Doo shit, when they're like doing the the rubbing of the book, and then he's like, oh, that's my mom's minivan, and
that's a cliche that needs to die.
Do you guys know what Punch Up is?
No.
There's like Punch Up is they'll get comedians come in for especially like animated movies. So say you're watching B movie and they want to punch up a scene so it's not.
First of all, you can't punch up B movie any more than it already is.
Okay, but that's because someone punched it up. Is there'll be scenes where the story needs to progress, but they need a reason to keep kids or parents entertained, so they'll throw in random jokes. There's like a Patton Oswalt skit about this. How basically if you're watching B movie and there's a really serious scene, you'll have Punch Up is people in the background who maybe you don't see or you can't hear what they're doing, but it's like, oh, I just slipped in Jello, like stuff like that. That's supposed to have kids go like, ha ha ha, and it's supposed to add to the core. Like, it doesn't take away from the core comedy of the movie. It's just to spice up some of the scenes.
And they're trying to appeal to more than just one demographic.
Yeah,
but that's even like T.J. Miller in Cloverfield.
Yeah,
like he's the comic relief
like
the
this
whole time
guy
with
felt
the camera
like
too.
Punch Up the whole time, but
yeah,
I didn't
it felt
like any
really
of it.
forced. Like when he's climbing up the attic and he's like, white people with their basements and fucking attics, and I'm like, I'm pretty sure that wouldn't be what you're thinking when you're being forced to go up in this attic where there's like a creepy woman in a corner.
Yeah,
because I'd probably just be crying and like running the other way.
Yeah.
I know that the whole way up the stairs I'd just be cracking jokes just loud as possible.
Yeah,
like
exactly.
I'm gonna sneak up on somebody, but this shit's funny as fuck.
Exactly. Wonder if she circed. My God. Sorry, I had to.
We had to get one in.
Yeah. You guys want to hear what Darcy thought of it?
Yeah.
Because we've posted on our Facebook page and Instagram. I'll check the Instagram if someone said anything, but I have a feeling we got a big 0 there. But Darcy, former guest of the show, also host of 3,000 Movies to Die Before You Watch, which I have listened to 3 episodes so far. Doing great. Looking forward to hearing more. But Darcy says, great. It was great for the first 80%, but then the police decide to take a camera crew to find an abducted child, and then the officers are promptly killed. Then they also say the footage was discovered. Spoilers, but yet the camera crew survives. Very true.
You're throwing we're throwing logic at this film in a story way. You're throwing logic at this film in a found footage way. You can't fuck with the core of what found footage is. Just accept that this footage is here.
Well, that's the thing is I think he's pointing out that's the thing though is when it's done. Like I hate to just keep on bringing up Ghostwatch, but I think Ghostwatch is like just perfect because it all makes sense why the camera would be there and why this footage exists and why they wouldn't stop filming and everything. And that's going to be a flaw that you just have to accept in found footage is what I think you're trying to say. It's like found footage is going in essence it is all fucking stupid.
If you get down to the core of it, it's the same thing as you ask why does a person go, I heard a weird noise, I'm going to go look at it. That's how you progress story. It's horror 101. That's how you progress things.
But that's why we will always like spend more time like getting more excited about the ones that find a new way to convince you.
Mm-hmm.
And
I feel like there is a bit of an issue with the way they did format this one though, because they have all those scenes cut in where they're interviewing the professionals and all of that, and it's like, well, obviously there was some editing done.
Oh yeah.
So I'm kind of lost as to like, did someone take this footage and edit it, or were they? Is this because I know at one point. The point where after she pulls the snake out and he turns around and Mia, the girl's like yelling at him about like, you're supposed to be editing. So are they like editing as they go and this is what they got? Or like, it just kind of felt weird where I'm like, it feels like it's half presented documentary and then half like,
well, see, you can't poke holes in that because then why do we have all the security footage? Who got that? How is that edited
exactly.
in?
So that's kind of why it's weird. Whereas I felt like maybe if they had time to get all that and piece it together, they should have sold it as a possession movie instead of found footage.
I agree. I think this just happened to come out at the time where it's just like everything needed to be fucking found footage, and that's where it was getting like it's nice that we're actually ending on this kind of note where in the flood of shitty found footage movies there's some gems, but this movie there's nothing that it could have been a perfectly entertaining movie without being found footage. Like it had the story, they could have done it.
And I think this is even, as far as found footage goes, is like upper echelon of quality for found footage, even though we're poking
especially
holes
as of late.
Yeah.
But that's like, you got to look at like the Blair Witch Project, which we haven't talked about nearly enough in the found footage episodes. But like, if you think
we did an episode on it.
No, we only did the remake.
I thought we did a contrast on those two.
I don't know. I haven't listened to that episode in a very.
I feel like you talked about them both, but I
think
don't know.
We did.
Either like something. I'm not sure if we mentioned this on that one. Either way, it's our first episode. But like how Blair Witch Project, it actually feels like something that you could find
on the
like
ground.
This movie.
Yeah.
You could find this movie, put it in, because it's like there's no fancy editing. It's just like it's just stop and start on a camcorder. Like that's
which is what I feel like the essence of found footage should be.
Yeah. But I think that it's
So-
gotten so distorted over the years, and people just trying to be like, what's a cheap way to make a movie? Which, hey, you can still make some good stuff, because they made The Taking of Deborah Logan, they made Ghost Watch. Unfortunately, they made the Poughkeepsie tapes. But yeah.
The Tunnel.
The Tunnel, yeah, sorry, The Tunnel. No, The Tunnel's good. The Tunnel's a good movie.
Okay, so let's just talk about the ending quickly, because it feels like we're kind of wrapping it up. What did you guys think of the ending? It felt very forced to me.
Oh, I hated it.
I thought this movie had a completely different ending than it did, and so I don't know what movie I'm thinking of, but it was not the end of this movie.
Yeah.
So I tried to Google and figure out what ending I thought it was, and I don't know what movie is.
Can you explain, like,
Yeah,
what did
maybe-
you think the ending is? Maybe
I
we can
thought
fill it
this
in.
movie actually went into something where they abducted the girl and brought her back to the house, and there was some kind of like ritual at the house.
That's Paranormal Activity,
That's also Taking a Deborah, or not, sorry, Exorcism of Emily Rose.
no, Last Exorcism.
I think it's Exorcism of Emily Rose, but
Because I feel like I remember this thing where there's like all these girls that are trapped there, or it's like I thought it was like a grandmother with her kids or grandmother with her grandchildren.
You're
and there
thinking
was
of Paranormal Activity.
I don't know, but for some reason I thought it went on this thing where then all of a sudden it just had to do with the house, and they never went back to the house, and I was like, oh, okay, this is like, so it's like a new ending to me.
Yeah.
Still
Okay,
wasn't a fan of it.
because I was thinking it's the Emily Rose one where they're. I'm spoiling this if anyone's listening who hasn't seen that movie, where she's pregnant and they take her and they're doing that seance because they think that she was faking it the whole time.
That's the Last Exorcism.
Is it the Last Exorcism?
Yeah, Exorcism of Emily Rose is that one with that fucking idiot from Dexter.
I haven't seen Dexter.
Okay, well, it's that one's like mainly in a courtroom.
I'm thinking
See, I think no. I think maybe I just
I'm
imagined
thinking
the
of
whole
Last
thing.
Exorcism.
I don't know.
The Last Exorcism is the one where the flames and shit.
Yeah.
I love that ending.
That's what I thought she was talking about.
Yeah, and that's similar. But then there's one of the Paranormal Activity movies where they end off going like across the street, and there's like a seance of all these like old women and shit, and there's all this stuff written.
Is that
on
the one where they're all
walls.
naked?
Yeah.
Well, I seem to remember clothed people, but
Okay.
I don't know. Like I said, I don't know where I'm pulling this concept from, but I thought it went into that where they ended up back
See,
at the house.
it's funnier if you just made that up because we just literally like named like 3 or 4 movies.
Well, you
where
know what?
things like
I was
happened.
trying to Google it, and these are all names that were popping up, but it was either like, oh, I haven't seen that movie, or I'm pretty sure like this didn't
Yeah.
seem like so.
Okay, well, if
I'll
you
let you know if I find it, but
if you have a theory for Gabby of which movie she could be talking about, make sure to hit her up on Instagram. But yeah, let's close this thing off. I think this was a lot. I know we did a fair bit of. Oh wait, we haven't talked about it. I hated.
We didn't
the
talk
ending.
about
I hated it.
Okay,
It's garbage.
So basically, the ending
Stupid.
is their newsman is interviewing the little girl.
She cures her cancer, doesn't she?
She's cancer free now, and it's her birthday party, and they're asking her about like what's her plans or whatever, and she's like, I have a plan,
And she gives the camera
then she
creepy
stares.
smile.
yeah. And
Which-
it almost like kind of slow motioned and looked like it was skipping frames or
Yeah.
something. It made me think of that part in It where like the pictures are changing
Yeah,
and
oh,
the
yeah,
hair.
yeah.
It was like it almost had that effect, and then it just ended, and then that's where I was like, what is this movie?
I hate that ending. I
I feel
hate
like
it.
it's so.
It felt like a
it's so
cop-out.
cliche. It's just the like most generic kind of.
Well,
Just like pawn it off to the
Yeah.
kid, new
Yeah,
generation.
You ended the movie on a character that we didn't know about till the last quarter, probably. That we don't really care about. Honestly, we don't care that much about the character. We have no
Yeah.
backstory.
Well, they're just showing that she passed off the possession or whatever.
Yeah, I understand, but they're basically we've centered around all these characters, and the end of the movie focuses on the little girl and this murderer, serial killer dude who was doing cult shit that we never actually got to see. We just got to see pictures of him. So it feels like a really shitty way to end it, because even if they did a thing where it was the little girl, if they had a small section of the scene in the movie where maybe they got to know her at the hospital, because you don't know her personality at all. Like, you know what I mean? Yeah. So
it spent so much time focusing on Sarah and Deborah that by the time you get to the end with the little girl, you're like, this isn't even in the realm of what I'm thinking about.
You don't know her, and you don't care enough about her. You're just supposed to go like, oh, maybe she's acting different. If you showed that to most people, they just go like, oh, that's a sinister looking kid. But you have to try and figure out yourself that it's this guy who's reborn and stuff. You know what I mean? Like, there's not enough of that character that you get a payoff from the ending.
The only reason that I feel like that exists, the only purpose I see for it is, hey, if this movie does all right, we might have a sequel.
Get a sequel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just feel like if they would have centered more on that little girl, getting to know her and stuff, so that when she does shit like that, you go, oh, she's not acting normal. That's a payoff for a movie.
But alternately, if they were not to focus on the little girl and just wrap it up with Deborah, what would have been a good ending?
Yeah, exactly.
No, I'm saying you could literally have done the same ending.
Just write a better movie, baby. How about you? How about let's see what you can do?
I am saying
this time next year, I expect to see your take.
Make your own fucking movie.
I like to
it's found footage. Just grab your phone.
I like to try and add my own spin on what would be a better version. Not because I'm trying to undermine anyone, because I'm looking at it subjectively and going, there are better options.
Yeah. And there are.
Yeah, this felt like the first thing that came across the table. It really did.
Yeah, it totally. It's something that they are like, oh, we got the ending figured. I'd be surprised if Adam Robitel...
the snake scene, and they're like, that's it, we're good. Anything after this doesn't matter.
Oh man, that would have been an awesome just last cut or something, and then like, I don't know, have her fucking get her head blown off or something.
Or have the camera, like the battery dies or some shit, and then they go like, no, we just found the camera and everyone else is gone.
Yeah, exactly. And it's like, visit this website if you want to find out the ending.
Yeah, I would have been okay with that.
Fuck. Okay.
This 10-year-old is now cancer-free.
Yeah. Okay, all right. Well, thank you so much for coming on, Gabby. This has been awesome. We wanted to do this for a while, so that's exciting.
Thank you for having me here.
Yeah. Once again, where can people follow you on Instagram?
Instagram is Gabrielle Rose from the Dead. That's also what my Twitch is, if anyone wants to watch me draw and say more stupid things on the internet.
Oh. To piss off Diego.
Who would have known that dumb shit's on the internet?
Right?
Who would have known that she could say something about a horrible piece of shit and Diego would get mad about it?
Just a passing comment. Didn't even know he was there. Yeah. Now I'm scared. Is he always lurking in the corner?
Oh, 100% he is. Okay, and then on Facebook
Facebook is The Dark Arts of Gabrielle Rose, but I'm pretty sure if you search Gabrielle Rose from the Dead, I do have it set up that it should pop up as well.
Cool.
So.
Okay, so if people see your stuff and they want stuff, you do commissions.
Yeah, I do commissions, and just message me directly is the
hit
easiest
up Gabby
way.
If you want some artwork, honestly.
And,
hey, you draw things.
And we'll talk about it a lot once it's closer to the date, but October 12th, everyone keep your schedule wide open because everyone should be going to the dark market if you're in Saskatoon.
Yes.
Cool. All right, well, we'll see you guys next week for our book club episode, unless something changes, but we'll just follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter, and we'll be there. Have a good night, everyone. Stay spoopy.
Bye.
LOL, JK.
Yeah, JK, bye. I forgot, because you're a guest, that you get the outro treatment.
Oh.
And you know what? I would be remiss if I missed it. So, what would you like to have 15 to 20 seconds played of as your outro?
I thought you were going to say, what would you like 15 to 20 people to hear?
Well, that too.
Well, since we were talking about it earlier, I'm going to pick some MCR, but how about we do some Thank You for the Venom?
Oh, banger.
All right.
Thank you for the banger.